Chapter 504. You are the Dragon King of the East Sea. You only speak for the East Sea. Zelan said coldly, "What selflessness! Your selfishness is greater than anyone else." "Whatever you say," Jiang Changkong said lightly. "Since you said so much, I want to see what you plan to do." Fairy Zelan sneered, "If you dare to side with the Dragon King of the East Sea, I will definitely not spare you and report you to the heavens. Then you have to watch carefully." Jiang Changkong descended from the sky and came to the fishing village. "I am the inspector of the heavenly court, the Dragon King of the East Sea, Jiang Changkong." "Immortal of the heavenly court? Greetings, immortal, greetings, immortal." The villagers all knelt down with a thud, and those who had fainted were directly awakened. Looking at the shivering villagers, Jiang Changkong's voice was cold. "You worship the evil demon. Do you know your sin?" "Immortal, please forgive us. We are just trying to live. Please forgive us. We are ignorant. We are willing to worship you. In the future, we will definitely worship the immortal and offer the best fish to the immortal." The fishermen hurriedly kowtowed and begged for mercy. "Jiang Changkong." Fairy Zelan looked angry and was about to attack, but Jiang Changkong glared at her. "I asked if you know your sin." Jiang Changkong said coldly, "We know our sin. We know our sin. Please don't kill us." The villagers kowtowed even harder. Jiang Changkong descended and came to a fisherman. "Your sin, 1. You do not know the heavenly court. Do not worship the heavenly emperor. 2. Worship the evil demon. Disrespect the Dragon King." "Immortal, please spare us." "Shut up if you dare to say another word. I will destroy your entire village." Jiang Changkong shouted coldly, and the group of fishermen trembled and shut their mouths tightly. "The East Sea is the East Sea of the Dragon King of the East Sea. You worship the evil demon and offended the Dragon King of the East Sea. Even if this fairy does not kill the evil demon, you will not be able to catch fish in the future and will starve to death." Jiang Changkong said coldly, "East Sea Dragon King?" The villagers' faces changed. They didn't know that there was an East Sea Dragon King in East Sea. Roar! A resounding dragon roar resounded as a 300-meter-long golden dragon appeared, stirring the boundless seawater. The might of the true dragon swept over, and all the villagers prostrated on the ground. Fairy Violet Orchid frowned and was about to make a move, but Jiang Changkong stopped her. "This is the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. If you dare to make a move, I will put you in prison." "Zelan, all right, you're amazing. Let's watch your performance." The 100-feet-long golden dragon was naturally manifested by the little dragon monarch using her immortal power. Her body was not even 3 meters tall. "I am the Dragon King of the East Sea, the master of the East Sea. In the future, I will never be able to capture any creatures of the East Sea when I offer sacrifices to the evil demons." A forceful and dignified voice rang out, and there was an unconcealable childishness to it. Fortunately, the villagers could not tell, but Fairy Xylan's expression was a little strange. "In the future, worship the celestial Dharch and this king. This king will protect you from the invasion of the sea demons and divide a sea area for you to fish." The 100-feet-long golden dragon said loudly, "You and the sea race live in peace. This king will bless you and give you good weather." "Thank you, East Sea Dragon King. Thank you, East Sea Dragon King. We will definitely worship the celestial Dharch and worship the Dragon King." The villagers hurriedly knelt down, extremely surprised. No matter who the sacrifice was, as long as it could bless them and fish in the East Sea, it was enough. The 100-feet-long golden dragon said again, "In the future, the sacrifices are not allowed to use living people. Livestock and fruits will do." "Thank you, East Sea Dragon King." The fishermen kowtowed again and watched the 100-feet-long golden dragon sink into the East Sea. Jiang Changkong summoned Xianyin. "Live well in the future. The heavenly court and the East Sea Dragon King will bless you." "Thank you, Celestial Dharch. Thank you, Great Immortal. Thank you, East Sea Dragon King. Amidst the gratitude of the villagers, Jiang Changkong and Fairy Violet Orchid left. Rising into the sky, Jiang Changkong looked at Fairy Violet Orchid. Fairy, it's time for us to part. You're just going to find a new sacrifice target for them. Fairy Violet Orchid frowned. You can understand it that way. Moreover, the East Sea is the Dragon King's East Sea. Jiang Changkong said lightly, if you want to enjoy the offerings, you can stay here and protect them. Aye. Fairy Violet Orchid thought for a moment. She really did not have the time to stay and protect the group of fishermen. If you do this, it will not benefit you and the East Sea Dragon King, right? Protecting them for nothing was not a matter of a day and night. What could she get? A few livestock and fruits as sacrifices? The group of fishermen could not even get a first-grade immortal medicine. Would they be interested in something below the immortal grade? I'm just following the rules of heaven. I'm helping the heavenly court govern this lower realm and helping the Dragon King manage the East Sea. After Jiang Changkong finished speaking, he left straight away. After he dealt with the matters of the East Sea, he would go find the land demons. Their collection must be rich. He would secretly plunder a little, destroy a little. In the battle, he would accidentally break them and throw the spiritless ones to the heavenly court. He went to the next fishing village. Unexpectedly, Fairy Violet Orchid followed him. However, there was nothing much to see. It was basically the same as before. He would destroy the evil demons and let the Dragon King come out. Then he would announce the heavenly court and the heavenly emperor. This time, Jiang Changkong remembered to take out the patrolling heavenly book. It would be registered. If he did not take it out, the patrolling heavenly book could not be registered. For several days, Fairy Violet Orchid followed him. She watched him deal with one village after another. She did not receive any benefits. They were all following the rules of heaven. They governed the fishing villages and the East Sea. However, Jiang Changkong did not give her a good attitude every time. If she dared to go against the rules of heaven, after a few days, the two gradually became familiar with each other. Fairy Violet Orchid was the kind of person who did bad things with good intentions. She also had a kind heart. However, she had never considered what would happen after she left. On this day, the two came to another fishing village. This fishing village was slightly larger. There were many fishermen. There were even middle-stage martial immortals among them. The fishermen were either fishing or resting. They seemed to be living a good life. Inside the village, there were several peak martial immortals enjoying themselves. Looks like this village doesn't need you, Violet Orchid said indifferently. This village needs me more than any other village. Jiang Changkong took out the patrolling heavenly book. A few rays of golden light entered his mind. Are you joking? This village is living such a good life. You want to force them to worship the Dragon King of the East Sea? Although they were already familiar with each other, the proud female Celestial would always argue with him. Jiang Changkong waved his hand. Chaotic divine power swept across. The houses in the center of the village split open, revealing several peak martial immortal heavenly soldiers. Beside the heavenly soldiers were the corpses of several youths. Their throats were slit. Blood flowed out and was swallowed by the heavenly soldiers. The houses exploded. The heavenly soldiers panicked. The fishermen who were enjoying themselves knelt down in fear. Lord Heavenly Soldiers, it's not us. It's not us. These are the heavenly soldiers of the heavenly court. You said you don't need my village, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Those bastards. Fairy Violet Orchid shouted angrily. She couldn't help but attack. Purple light shot towards the heavenly soldiers. Jiang Changkong was faster than her. He sent his chaotic divine power into the heavenly soldiers and searched their souls. Information after information entered Jiang Changkong's mind, causing his face to turn cold. He also sent the information to Fairy Violet Orchid. Chapter 505. When Fairy Xylan got angry, almost all the heavenly soldiers were killed. In particular, The message that Jiang Changkong sent her stimulated her nerves even more. The heavenly soldiers were tyrannical in the lower realm and did not go to the heavenly court. This matter was not a secret, and Fairy Zelan also knew about it. She had also contacted these heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals to descend to the lower realms privately. They had descended to the lower realm to have fun, and at the same time to help out a good person and display their kindness. However, these immortal soldiers were here to bring disaster to the lower realms. Wearing the skin of the heavenly court, they could strut around and bully the common people here. They enjoyed their offerings and took their resources without daring to say anything. These heavenly soldiers were all demon immortals who had joined the heavenly court. It was difficult to change one's demonic nature. When they descended to the lower realm, they revealed their true colors. In their memories, they had colluded with the nearby demon clan and ruled the nearby fishing villages together. Watching Fairy Zelan kill the heavenly soldiers, Jiang Changkong said calmly, "Are you done venting? Then don't interfere with my work." Next, it was the same old trick to let the Dragon King come out and subdue this place. Fairy Violet Orchid did not argue this time. She stood to the side and watched quietly. When he was done and the Dragon King left, Fairy Violet Orchid said, "Go and destroy that demon race." There might be an even more powerful demon king behind this. It might be a peak sky immortal or even an immortal. Jiang Changkong said indifferently, "I'll go. You stay here. If you're not afraid, what should I be afraid of?" Fairy Violet Orchid snorted. "Even if it's an immortal, I'm not afraid." "Then let's go." Jiang Changkong faintly smiled and charged towards the demon race expert. With Fairy Xylan following him, he would have to be a little more secretive and not let her see through him. He was fair and selfless, corruption and whatnot, unless he brought a lot of it. Thinking of this, he felt a little depressed. He had always wanted to be corrupt, but this group of people didn't believe him. Within a small mountain, a Yao immortal was lurking. Some lesser demons wandered around the mountain, patrolling. With a thought from Jiang Changkong, formless chaos divine energy spread out. This was the Tao of strength, exerting force without form. Inside the small mountain there was a cave. There was a completely different world inside, and it was decorated very luxuriously. There were also some female demons and a late-stage sky immortal demon king resting in the cave. Boom! The formless chaos divine power exploded. The small mountain exploded, and all the little demons died. The small mountain split open, and the late-stage heaven immortal demon king roared angrily. "A trashy celestial immortal. I'll personally kill him." Fairy Xylan said disdainfully, "A late-stage heaven immortal demon king didn't have a strong aura, similar to the one Jiang Changkong slaughtered in the East Sea. This demon king only cultivated a middle-grade immortal sutra. Fairy Zelan's strength was extraordinary. Before Jiang Changkong broke through, he had to use all his strength to suppress her. These demon kings and celestial immortals were completely weak. Jiang Changkong relinquished the demon king to her and entered the cave. He searched the mother demon's soul and destroyed the cave with a single palm strike, destroying the collection along with it. Essence, chi, and spirit. 23,001 had to admit that this celestial immortal demon king was really poor. He only had 23,000 essence, energy, and spirit points. He was already worth 3,000. After destroying the cave, the battle outside was coming to an end. Fairy Zelan had a crushing victory. The late-stage heaven immortal demon king couldn't resist at all. Roar! A roar resounded from afar. Demonic aura surged as a giant rhinoceros rushed over. Jiang Changkong narrowed his eyes. It was an old acquaintance. An ant of the heavenly court dares to be impudent in the demon race. The giant rhinoceros shouted coldly. Jiang Changkong turned a spear and stopped the demon king. "Old rhinoceros, you haven't improved since we parted ways in the dragon race." "It's you, heavenly court's lackey." The rhinoceros demon king looked angry and directly rammed into Jiang Chongkong. Today I'll eat you. Let me help you. Fairy Zealand's sword shook and killed her opponent. She was about to help. No need. Jiang Chongkong put away his spear, activated his chaotic golden body, and punched at the old rhinoceros. Courting death. The rhinoceros demon king sneered, his horn suffused with terrifying immortal power. He remembered that Jiang Chongkong could fight a late-stage heaven immortal demon king. Jiang Chongkong wasn't weak, but he didn't take him seriously. The punch landed, and boundless chaos divine power surged. Boom! The rhinoceros demon king tumbled away. Jiang Chongkong raised his palm, and chaos divine power and various characteristics appeared, suppressing him. How can you be so strong? The rhinoceros demon king was alarmed. The immortal sutra he cultivated was superior. He was also an expert among peak heaven immortals. He had taken pills and fought with an immortal avatar. However, he was sent flying with a punch, and cracks appeared on his horn. Jiang Chongkong attacked again, not giving the rhinoceros demon king a chance to catch his breath. The palm landed on the rhinoceros demon king's body. The defense he was so proud of was useless. He killed without being injured. The rhinoceros demon king roared repeatedly when his soul was attacked, but he couldn't change the fact that he was no match. The last time they met, Jiang Chongkong's strength had surpassed him. Jiang Chongkong could completely crush him with the chaos golden body activated. The punches and palms kept falling, and the rhinoceros demon king was constantly injured, his aura getting weaker and weaker. Jiang Chongkong was constantly on guard. After all, this rhinoceros demon king had just taken pills and had an immortal avatar. But this time, the rhinoceros demon king didn't take any pills until he died. Fairy Xylan looked at him in shock. A peak human immortal killed a peak heaven immortal rhinoceros demon king. If it were her, she would have some confidence in killing the rhinoceros demon king, but she would definitely be seriously injured in the end. After searching the rhinoceros demon king's soul, Jiang Chongkong put away the inspecting heavenly book. The pill that the rhinoceros demon king took last time wasn't from him, but from an immortal demon king. In the demon race, his status was only considered good. The demon race also had many true experts, not weaker than the heavenly court. Over the years, the heavenly court had killed many demon race, and the two forces were almost like fire and water. No one knew where the demon race got the news, but the heavenly emperor sent Li Qinghe to the East Sea to carry out a mission, and the nearby rhinoceros demon king led people to destroy it. Just in case, the demon race gave him a pill that could temporarily boost his strength. Unfortunately, he still couldn't beat the immortal avatar, and in the end he had to escape. The late-stage heaven immortal demon king was killed. Let's go! Jiang Chongkong took the rhinoceros demon king's corpse and left with Fairy Xylan. He left a chaotic divine power to search the rhinoceros demon king's treasures. Of course, not too much. These demon kings had given most of their treasures to the demon race. These heavenly soldiers of the demon race are really hateful. The heavenly court shouldn't have recruited them. Fairy Xylan was still angry. Some of them are sincere, Jiang Chongkong said lightly. I'm going back to the heavenly court. This demon king's corpse will be handed over to the heavenly court. Fairy Xylan frowned. You're not staying? After all, you killed it with your own hands. I won't tell anyone. You can take it, and I'll help you refine the demon core into a golden core. The golden core was a pill refined from the demon race's inner core. It contained essence, energy, and spirit. Jiang Chongkong shook his head. I'm working for the heavenly court. According to the heavenly law, I can't hide anything. I have to bring back all the demon kings I killed, and even their resources. Then why didn't you take their resources? Fairy Xylan asked. The aftermath of your battle has been destroyed. The rhinoceros demon king is a member of the demon race. After his death, the demon race will sense it. We don't have time to collect the resources, Jiang Chongkong explained. You really don't want to leave anything for yourself? Fairy Xylan asked again. I'm working for the Heavenly Court. I have to report. Goodbye. Jiang Changkong said and turned to leave. You're a fool. Chapter 506. It's not up to you to say whether I'm an idiot or not. Jiang Changkong muttered to himself and disappeared. An hour later, another Jiang Changkong came with resources. It wasn't much, but there were 56,000 essences. What he said to Zilan about not having time to collect resources was all a lie. If he wanted to improve, apart from the Heavenly Court, he would have to wipe out the monsters in the celestial world, or find a powerful monster king, but he probably wouldn't be able to deal with that. After collecting essences, Jiang Changkong stepped on the path back to the Heavenly Court. In front of the southern Heavenly Gate, the Heavenly soldiers ignored him. With Jiang Changkong's current position, they couldn't address him as an exalted immortal. It would damage their status. However, they didn't dare to treat him as a subordinate, so they could only ignore him. Jiang Changkong came to Heavenly King Ziwei's residence. This time he didn't see Heavenly King Ziwei. There was only a female immortal who collected the things. Jiang Changkong returned the way he came and descended to the lower realm again. This time he felt somewhat displeased. If the merit was still there, there would be some hope. But now the merit was gone and the things were collected. She didn't even say anything. Do I really have to keep some for myself? Jiang Changkong thought about Zilan's words and shook his head. He had basically eaten everything he could eat, and he only gave a little to the Heavenly Court. Forget it. After I help the Dragon King manage the East Sea, I'll go to the celestial world to take a look. Jiang Changkong didn't think too much and continued to go to the fishing villages. He didn't meet Zilan again and was relaxed. Little did he know that Zilan had just left the Heavenly Court with a strange expression. She specially went to check if Jiang Changkong handed everything over. Time passed, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. In this half a month, Jiang Changkong went around the East Sea and dealt with all the fishing villages. The Heavenly Book also recorded his achievements, but the Heavenly Court didn't seem to know and completely forgot about him. Just as he was about to leave, a wave surged and a lobster floated to the surface with a trident. Acting Dragon King, the East Sea Dragon King invites you. Okay, I'll go now. Jiang Changkong and the lobster sank to the bottom of the sea. The original demon city had become the East Sea City, and the Dragon Palace had moved there. The place where the Dragon Palace was previously located was listed as a forbidden area by the Little Dragon King because there was a true dragon pool there. For now, the Eastern Sea Dragon King had no intention of bringing out the true dragon pool. He did not dare to let others know either. Jiang Changkong entered the East Sea Dragon Palace. The Little Dragon King was sitting on the dragon throne, and his body was glowing with azure light. Jiang Changkong was slightly startled. There was a trace of a special aura on the Little Dragon King's body, supreme and noble. As he stood below, there was a strange feeling in his heart that seemed to be urging him to quickly submit. Jiang Changkong circulated the green light in his body, and only then did he not feel anything strange. Looking again, Little Dragon King's aura was still there, but it didn't affect him anymore. Dragon King, what are you doing? Jiang Changkong asked curiously. Little Dragon King waved his hand, and the palace gate was closed. With a trace of solemnity and joy, he said, Elder Brother Changkong, heaven has recovered. Heaven? Jiang Changkong was startled. Isn't it dead? I'm not sure, but heaven has indeed recovered. It should be from the Heavenly Court. Little Dragon King had a solemn face. In my inherited memories, heaven rules all things. The ancient Heavenly Court received orders from heaven. Back then, the ancient dragon race suppressed the four seas. The Eastern Sea Dragon King also received orders from heaven and could borrow some of the power of heaven. In that case, you can borrow the power of heaven now. Jiang Changkong said in shock, the special aura on your body is heaven. Yes, when Elder Brother Changkong helped me govern the fishing village and made the villagers respect me, and I blessed them. The power of heaven had recovered. It was very weak at first, and I did not notice it. It was not until you finished governing the last fishing village that the aura became stronger. Little Dragon King walked down from the dragon throne, and his little face could not hide his excitement. This way, I am the Dragon King recognized by heaven, the heavenly court's Dragon King. That person from the heavenly court? Jiang Changkong frowned. He definitely has more benefits than me. After all, the Eastern Sea is under his rule. My benefits are at most 1% of his. Little Dragon King's little face showed a trace of envy. When he gets more power of heaven, he will be the real heavenly emperor, unify the immortal world, and restore the glory of the ancient heavenly court. Is there any limit to the power of heaven? What can you do in the future to increase it? Jiang Changkong asked again. Develop the Eastern Sea and make it more and more powerful. Also, strictly abide by the heavenly law and make your subordinates abide by it and not violate it. What if the heavenly law is violated? Little Dragon King explained. In serious cases, you will be deprived of the power of heaven. In more serious cases, the power of heaven will rebound and your realm will fall. In light cases, you will only have the power of heaven weakened, and you'll be dealt with according to the heavenly law. Thank you, Dragon King. Jiang Changkong understood that the heavenly emperor was using him to obtain the power of heaven. No wonder he suddenly gave me so many resources and even arranged for me to cultivate in seclusion for 3 days. He directly kicked me down, and the first place is in the Eastern Sea. Is he using me as an experiment? This is all I know about the power of heaven. However, I recently found a lot of information in the ancestral dragon bone. Little Dragon King said in a low voice, the ancient dragon race left some important inheritance in the ancestral dragon bone. Little Dragon King, you must keep this matter a secret. I will leave first. Jiang Changkong warned and prepared to leave. Little Dragon King said again, Big Brother Changkong, you also do things according to the heavenly law and obtain the power of heaven as soon as possible. I discovered that the power of heaven can speed up cultivation. And I will go on patrol first. After Jiang Changkong finished speaking, he directly left the dragon palace and went to the ground. Power of heaven. This heavenly emperor is too stingy. I helped to manage the Eastern Sea and reaped great benefits, but he forgot me. Since that's the case, then goodbye, I will go outside. If I can't wait for the benefits, Jiang Changkong is not really a person of the heavenly court. In the past half a month, he also encountered some monsters. After searching their souls, he gained some understanding of the forces near the Eastern Sea. In addition to the monsters, there are many immortal sects established by human immortals. There are 3 immortal sects near the Eastern Sea. They are quite powerful and have immortals overseeing them. Usually, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals are very polite to these immortal sects. The immortals are very powerful, and the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals cannot afford to offend them. Jiang Changkong also does not want to offend the 3 great immortal sects, so he chose some of the nearby monster kings. In the continuous mountain range, there are many monsters hidden. These monsters often eat humans and refuse to be disciplined by the heavenly court. Some of the land and mountain gods of the heavenly court are still obedient, and the disobedient have been eaten. Jiang Changkong's chaotic divine power fluctuates. His entire body is concealed as if it is transparent. The heavenly book immortal record and identity jade plate are all suppressed in his body. Even if I do something out of line, the heavenly court will not know. After concealing himself, he came to a cave. There is a peak martial immortal monster king there. Jiang Changkong searched his soul and killed it. His essence, chi, and spirit are pitifully little. Including his collection, he only has 250 essence, chi, and spirit. Just like that, Jiang Changkong silently cleaned up the monster kings. He did not even let the corpses go. When he searched the soul of a human immortal monster king, he had an unexpected harvest. Someone in the heavenly court wants to deal with the Eastern Sea. To be more precise, they want to deal with him. Chapter 507. You finally can't hold it in anymore. Jiang Chongkong sneered. There were definitely people in the heavenly court who wanted to deal with him. He had thrown the children of the immortals into the heavenly prison, and they would definitely not let the matter rest. However, at that time he was bestowed a reward by the celestial arch, so these people did not dare to act recklessly. Now that more than half a month had passed, these people finally couldn't take it anymore. Over the past few days, he had been doing his duty impartially and according to the laws of heaven, but there was no longer any reward for him. Some people felt that the celestial emperor had already forgotten about him, so they could make their move. The first step was also the East Sea. After he left, he would let the demon kings attack the East Sea. Right now, the Eastern Sea's little dragon king wasn't even a celestial immortal. He was very easy to deal with. Destroying the East Sea that he had painstakingly unified would make all his efforts go down the drain. If they really succeeded, the celestial emperor would definitely punish him. No matter who did it, he would definitely be in trouble for failing to protect the Eastern Sea. However, if the celestial arch were to find out, he would probably exterminate their entire families. This was preventing the celestial arch from obtaining the power of heaven and unifying the celestial world. As for what the heavenly soldiers planned to do next, the demon king did not know. Jiang Chongkong pondered for a moment before killing the human immortal demon king. After thinking about it, he continued to take out the heavenly book. Most of it would be smashed to pieces, and the remaining would be left for the heavenly court. Now that the East Sea was unified and the surrounding fishing villages were under control, the celestial emperor would definitely think of him again. Then he would continue to pretend for a while longer. That's right, I'll pretend to injure myself to gain confidence. For example, I'll fight a great battle and I'll be injured to show my loyalty. As for the schemes of those people, Jiang Chongkong felt that he could play with the three major immortal sects. In his hand, he still held this trump card. He took out the heavenly book, but there was no response. There were no members of the heavenly court nearby. Jiang Chongkong soared into the sky and arrived above the mountain range. Golden light radiated for tens of thousands of meters. Roar! A series of roars resounded out as demonic chi soared into the sky. The dense demonic chi caused the sky to darken. An oppressive feeling of oppression came over. Demonic chi formed clouds, blocking out the golden light. How dare you act so presumptuously in the demon race? A cold voice rang out. One by one, the monster kings stepped out of their cave abodes and appeared indistinctly in the black clouds. The inspector of the heavenly courts is here. You remaining demons, why aren't you submitting to the heavenly courts? Jiang Chongkong said coldly. In this group of demon kings, the strongest was only a celestial immortal. As for deities, there would be opportunities in the future. Bullshit, Patrol Inspector. Since you dare to come, I'll grant you your wish. A sky immortal demon king laughed savagely. Eat him. Kill. One by one, the demon kings charged at Jiang Chongkong with ink-black clouds. Walala! The heavenly book flipped and recorded this scene. Jiang Chongkong looked at these demon kings and swept out his rank 3 spear. Boom! The chaos divine power descended, exploding the human immortal and demon kings one by one, turning them into a mist of blood. Their essence, energy, and spirit were extracted. Jiang Chongkong felt like he had returned to the time when he first transmigrated and killed the star demon, explode them and extract their essence, chi, and soul. You are a peak sky immortal? A demon king was sent flying, and his blood splattered across the void. Jiang Chongkong stepped into the air with a spear and swept the demon kings. Since you are in the heavenly court's territory, you can only die if you don't submit. Chi waves swept out, and wherever the chaos divine power passed, none of the demon kings could withstand his attack unscathed. Run. He is a general of the heavenly court. A Sky Immortal Demon King turned and fled, not daring to fight with Jiang Changkong anymore. The Heavenly Court's general was a peak Sky Immortal, and he had top-tier third-grade immortal armor and immortal artifacts. He also cultivated a superior-grade immortal sutra. As for these demon kings, they were mostly mid-tier. Cultivation techniques and equipment added together were enough to crush them. Moreover, Jiang Changkong's strength was not something an ordinary demon king could compare to. Jiang Changkong killed the group of demon kings. Looking at the scattered demon kings, he raised his spear and chased after them. The chaos divine power descended. Jiang Changkong left his clone behind to plunder their resources, while his main body chased after them. Since the Heavenly Court was somewhat unreliable, he could only do it himself. With one spear strike, he killed a Sky Immortal Demon King and chased after the other demon kings. Golden light shone through the dim demon chi, and the sky became clear. Jiang Changkong chased after them quickly. Boom! Sword light suddenly appeared in front of him. Two rays of light tore through the air and blocked Jiang Changkong's path. Who is interfering with the Heavenly Court's matters? Jiang Changkong stopped and said coldly. He looked behind the two of them at the two figures in the air, Yu Shui and Zilan. People of the Heavenly Court? Even if you are from the Heavenly Court, you can't be impudent here. The two rays of light turned into two figures. They were two young Sky Immortals, and their strength was peak Sky Immortal. Jiang Changkong's eyes were indifferent. Who are you? How dare you obstruct me? Do you know that you have violated the heavenly laws? Don't try to scare us. We are disciples of the Mystic Cloud Immortal Sect and Divine Sword Immortal Sect. This is our territory. The demon kings here are all our prey. Your Heavenly Court has no right to interfere here. The two young Sky Immortals said coldly, Hand over all the monster kings you killed, and we will forget about this matter. I think we should forget about it. Purple light flashed, and the two fairies arrived and said softly, The three major celestial sects have been here for many years. This is indeed their back mountain, Yu Shui explained. The two young men raised their heads and said, We will not make things difficult for you. Hand over the monster king's corpses. Jiang Changkong raised his spear and pointed it at the sky. What's up there? Up there? The sky? There's nothing. The four were slightly stunned. They did not understand what he meant. The Heavenly Court is up there. This is the land ruled by the Heavenly Court, not the so-called three major celestial sects. Jiang Changkong snorted coldly. He poured chaos divine power into the golden spear and swept it at the two young Sky Immortals. Two rays of golden light flashed and blocked the spear radiance. With a loud bang, the two figures flew out at the same time. How can you attack just like that? Fairy Zilan said angrily. She had been with Jiang Changkong for a while, and her impression of him had changed. Now, because of this spear, it was gone again. This inspector has a duty. Fairies don't make a mistake. Jiang Changkong snorted coldly. Golden light bloomed around him, and the spear pierced through the void, splitting into two spear radiants. The two Sky Immortals' expressions sank, and a golden sword radiance burst out. The other person's figure was ethereal and unpredictable, like a ghost. Jiang Changkong sneered and activated the Chaos Golden Body. Stop fighting. We're all friends, Yu Shui hurriedly persuaded. Jiang Changkong activated the Chaos Golden Body. He was going to fight for real. The two peak Sky Immortals would definitely not be able to withstand it. This inspector has no friends. Jiang Changkong snorted coldly. He poured chaos divine power into the spear and killed the two Sky Immortals. A suppressive force spread out, and the ethereal movement technique was immediately restrained. Wherever the spear radiance passed, the characteristics of Taiji contained the opponent's immortal power and converted it into his own chaos divine power. Rumble. The peak third-grade immortal spear fell, and the blood of the two peak sky immortals splattered in the sky. If you continue like this, we'll really attack, Fairy Zelan said angrily. Then this inspector can only put you in prison again. Jiang Changkong glanced at her coldly and attacked the two peak sky immortals. Fairy Zelan became even angrier. You're still so arrogant after being demoted. Fairy Yu Shui frowned. She also did not understand why Jiang Changkong was still so arrogant after being demoted to the lower realm. This inspector is just following the rules of heaven. Jiang Changkong explained once again. If it wasn't for the fact that they had extraordinary identities, he wouldn't even bother with them. Chapter 508. Save me, save me. The two sky immortals cried for help. Fairy Yushue couldn't take it anymore. Jiang Changkong, stop, or I'll make sure you don't even have a heavenly soldier. Jiang Changkong paused for a moment. Are you done? If you really dare to kill them, I'll kick you out of the heavenly court. The two celestial sects won't let you off. Yushue said coldly. Then I thank you. Jiang Changkong snorted and smashed down with his spear, killing the two sky immortals. You! As soon as Yushue opened her mouth, Jiang Changkong interrupted her. I only do things according to the rules of heaven. The passage to the heavenly court is over there. Go ahead. You're pissing me off. Yushue snorted and turned to leave. Yushue, Fairy Xylan glared at him and said angrily, Don't you have any compassion? They're our friends. Since the establishment of the heavenly court, there have been mountain gods and earth gods. Have you seen the mountain gods and earth gods here? Jiang Changkong coldly snorted and directly left. Fairy Xylan was stunned and looked at the void. There are mountain gods and earth gods here? There used to be, but they were eaten by the demons. A voice came from the void. The heavenly court doesn't have strong restrictions on this place. Earth gods and mountain gods exist in name only in some special areas. All right, he really does things according to the rules of heaven. Xylan sighed and left in the air to chase after Fairy Yushue. When they all left, Jiang Changkong collected the bodies of the two sky immortals and handed them to the heavenly court. The resources of the demon kings were not bad. In total, he had about 65,000 essence, chi, and spirit. His total essence, chi, and spirit were less than 700,000. He seemed far away from becoming a sky immortal. He would continue to kill demons. As for kicking him out of the heavenly court, Jiang Changkong really didn't take it to heart. Unless Fairy Yushue could persuade Heavenly Kingziwei or the Celestial Darch, he still had the Eastern Sea behind him. Although this Dragon King was not powerful, he was now the Tianding Dragon King. Jiang Changkong began to wipe out the demons. The back mountain of the three major immortal sects and the fact that he didn't charge them with hiding demons were all because he wasn't strong enough. On the other side, the two fairies really did return to the heavenly court. Yushue, are you really planning to kick him out of the heavenly court? Fairy Xylan followed by her side, wanting to persuade her. To think that I thought he was different from the other immortal gods. Now, it seems that he's no different from the other immortal gods. Yu Shui said with great dissatisfaction, That's our friend. He killed him just like that. He's not the only patrol inspector. Just send another one over. However, he has offended two major immortal sects. If he leaves the heavenly court, his life will be in danger. Moreover, he killed the demons in accordance with the laws of heaven, in order to give the mountain god. Fairies, I didn't expect to meet you here. Laughter sounded. Lu Ji walked over quickly. You two don't seem happy. Who was so blind to provoke you? Who else could it be? It's that Jiang Changkong. Yu Shui snorted coldly and left. Jiang Changkong? What's going on? Didn't he go to the lower realm? Lu Ji's eyes flashed, and he hurriedly asked. Go away. This has nothing to do with you, Xylan said impatiently. Lu Ji stopped in his tracks and smiled bitterly. When they were far away, his expression turned cold. He took out a jade token. Yenrui, the time for revenge is here. While Jiang Changkong was slaughtering a group of demonic beasts, streaks of light appeared in the sky and rapidly flew over. The heavenly book opened. Jiang Changkong didn't move. The streams of light descended and demonic qi surged. Jiang Changkong's expression was cold. The demon king that had escaped earlier actually came with this group. Divine Sword Immortal Sect, Mystic Cloud Immortal Sect, and Sea Suppressing Immortal Sect. The disciples of the three celestial sects had come together. In the sky, clouds surged and colorful lights filled the sky. A peak heaven immortal floated in the sky and looked down at Jiang Changkong. Did you kill the two disciples of the Mystic Cloud Immortal Sect and Divine Sword Immortal Sect? Jiang Changkong looked at the ball of demonic qi. You're with these demons. You're Jiang Changkong? Another peak heaven immortal asked coldly. Jiang Changkong said coldly, that's me. Are you trying to provoke the heavenly court? What a good tiger skin. A peak heaven immortal sneered with killing intent in his eyes. A heavenly soldier that was demoted dares to represent the heavenly court? I didn't expect that a heavenly general like me would be demoted. You should know that. Jiang Changkong's spear swept across the sky and pointed at the peak heaven immortal. I'm patrolling on behalf of the heavenly court. You didn't follow the laws of heaven and protected the demons. You occupied land and called yourselves kings. That's a capital crime. Take him down. With a command, the disciples of the three celestial sects charged at Jiang Changkong with cold expressions. You're courting death by provoking the heavenly court. Jiang Changkong's spear shone with golden light, and the spear radiance shot out. He activated the chaotic golden body, and his divine power shook the surroundings. He didn't kill them without getting injured this time. He didn't need to either. He just wanted to destroy them. The spear landed, and the peak heaven immortal flew out. Chaotic divine power shook, and human immortals fell and exploded. His essence, qi, and spirit were increasing. Although it was slow, it was still a gain. Kill, slay immortals and demons. Cloud Dao world. Ocean suppressing sword. The disciples of the three celestial sects surrounded Jiang Changkong with their three ultimate arts that could destroy ordinary peak heaven immortals. Chaos returned to one. Jiang Changkong's spear spun and chaotic divine power surged. All kinds of characteristics manifested. Absorption, containment, universal shift. Everything was returned to them. Both sides flew out at the same time. Jiang Changkong's arm shook and a crack appeared on his body. The disciples of the celestial sects weren't bad, but they were still far from him. Most of the disciples of the three celestial sects coughed up immortal blood. The few peak heaven immortals didn't have it easy either. Jiang Changkong rushed into the crowd. His first target was the heaven immortal monster king. He smashed down with his spear. With a boom, the heaven immortal monster king turned into a mist of blood and was killed. After killing the monster king, Jiang Changkong's spear radiance swept the other places. A terrifying power crushed the human immortals and heaven immortals. Jiang Changkong wasn't afraid of the disciples of the three celestial sects. As long as they weren't celestials or heaven immortals with top immortal scriptures, he didn't care. Immortals and deities fell one after another, and a terrifying force exploded. A special aura gradually appeared on Jiang Changkong's body. It was a supreme and noble aura. Power of heaven. Although the power of heaven was weak, the human immortals couldn't resist it at all. They were dazed for a moment and let Jiang Changkong kill them. Demon. You're a demon who cultivated evil arts. A heaven immortal disciple shouted in fear. There were demons in the celestial world. Immortals cultivated evil arts, and they had never seen the power of heaven before. They instinctively thought that it was evil arts. Jiang Changkong turned a deaf ear. He was in a strange state, and the rules of heaven kept flashing in his mind. A mysterious power kept telling him to carry out the rules of heaven. As long as he carried out the rules, all his dreams would come true. As long as he strictly carried out the rules of heaven and protected them, he would be rewarded. Jiang Changkong's spear continued to fall. In the end, even the peak heaven immortal was in a daze. I will carry out the law on behalf of heaven. A long roar stirred up endless waves of clouds. The mysterious power of heaven was added to Lin Fan's body. Essence, spirit, and energy, +1 +1 +1. The voice kept ringing in his mind. Jiang Changkong was a little confused. Chapter 509. Heavenly Court, Lingxiao Palace of the Golden Heaven. A supreme and noble aura emanated from the Heavenly Emperor's body. Sky Emperor, I can't do anything about it anymore. Jiang Changkong killed Yu Shui and Zilan's friend. Heavenly Monarch, Ziwei said helplessly, I am in a very difficult position. The celestial Darch replied indifferently, What friend? Which immortal king, disciple of the heavenly court? Near the East Sea, disciples of the profound cloud immortal sect and divine sword immortal sect. 2 peak sky immortals, new friends of Yushue and Xylin. Heavenly King, Ziwei explained. 3 ants with only immortals guarding them? The celestial Darch raised his eyelids. Ziwei, you can deal with this kind of problem on your own. So be it. Heavenly Monarch, Ziwei said in a low voice. How do we explain Yushue? She wants to replace Jiang Changkong and let him return to East Sea to be the current Dragon King. Yushue is fooling around, and you're fooling around too? The Celestial Emperor stood up with a cold expression. In recent days, the immortals that I have sent out have gained less than this patrol and East Ocean. Inferior to him. Heavenly King Ziwei exclaimed in shock. How is that possible? Didn't those immortals subdue all the major forces? They are already willing to make offerings. Offering. The celestial Darch harumphed coldly, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. You think I care about this trash? They were subdued. A bunch of idiots. Offering on the surface. How could it be true submission? You think I don't know? Celestial Darch, do you mean to continue using this Jiang Changkong? Heavenly King, Ziwei asked. Jiang Changkong has contributed greatly to the heavenly court. I will not replace him. If Yu Shui continues to cause trouble, I will forbid her from descending. The celestial monarch's aura suddenly became stronger as prayers rang in his ears. I want the entire immortal world to chant my name. I want the entire mortal world to hear my voice. Worship the celestial Darch, respect the celestial court, and abide by the laws of heaven. This was what the celestial emperor wanted. Only in this way could he obtain more power of the heavens and pry into the path of the saint. It was even possible to restore the glory of the ancient heavenly court. Yes, boom. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei had just responded when the high, firmament palace of the Golden Arches suddenly shook, and a thunderous voice sounded beside the celestial Thearcha's ears. I will enforce the law on behalf of the heavens. Wisps of the power of heaven flew out of the celestial Thearcha's body and intertwined in the air, forming a special mark. Before Heavenly Monarch Ziwei had a chance to respond, the celestial Thearcha's eyes lit up, and a hint of excitement appeared on his face. This inspector is truly my lucky star. I'll leave him to you, Ziwei. Before the celestial Darch could finish his sentence, the special mark broke through the void and disappeared. What's going on? Heavenly Monarch Ziwei was astonished. The celestial Darch closed his eyes, and the power of heaven around him began to thicken. After a long time, he opened his eyes and sighed. The heavenly Tao is incomplete, and the celestial court is imperfect. The celestial position automatically chooses its master. Heavenly Monarch Ziwei was elated. An immortal title? Could it be a special deity seat that only the ancient heavenly court had? That's right. Now that the heavens have awakened, the immortal mandate will be formed. Just now, the heavenly mandate of justice was formed. Back then, The heavenly god of justice was appointed to enforce the law on behalf of the heavens. The celestial emperor's eyes were deep and filled with anticipation. Reward Jiang Changkong with resources and nurture him with all your might so that he can quickly step into the immortal realm. Celestial Darch, isn't this too preferential treatment? It hasn't been long since his previous advancement. Heavenly Monarch, Ziwei advised. Other immortals only advanced once in thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. But how long had Jiang Changkong been in the heavenly court? Moreover, this advancement allowed him to quickly step into the immortal realm. This was even faster than ascending. What I want is a true heavenly god of justice. This is also the will of the heavens. If he enforces the law, I will reward him. The celestial Darch waved his hand. There was something else that he did not say. That was, he could obtain more power of heaven. Jiang Changkong slaughtered these immortals, packed up, and left. He did not kill any more demons and returned to the East Sea. He needed to find a place to properly study after obtaining the power of heaven. He had gained a lot from the battle just now. His essence, chi, and spirit reached 108,000. He was really grateful to the 3 immortal sects for coming to deliver their heads. He asked for a room with the little Dragon King to enter seclusion. Just as he was about to sense the power of heaven, a golden mark suddenly appeared and directly entered his body. Information surged into Jiang Changkong's mind. At the same time, the immortal record was suppressed by the golden mark. Duty of justice? Heavenly god of justice? Enforcing the law on behalf of the heavens? Jiang Changkong's eyes were dull. This was actually an immortal title. He had become the destined heavenly god of justice? Previously, when he said that he would enforce the law on behalf of the heavens, he was just following the power of heaven. He did not expect that there would really be an immortal title. It was just that this immortal title was incomplete and incomplete. In places where the heavenly court could completely rule, such as the East Sea, he was the true heavenly god of justice and could use the power of heaven to fight. As for how strong, he did not know. And the power of heaven also had a super awesome ability. The little Dragon King said that it could accelerate cultivation. Therefore, a series of voices appeared in Jiang Changkong's mind. Essence, chi, spirit, plus 1,000, plus 10,000, plus, was this a gift from the heavens? The power of heaven was high and mighty. Jiang Changkong watched his essence, chi, and spirit soar until it soared to 2 million before stopping. An hour later, Jiang Changkong found that he was wrong. Essence, chi, spirit, plus 100 another hour. Essence, chi, spirit, plus 100. There's actually such a good thing. Jiang Changkong murmured to himself. What kind of merit did he need? Automatic hack? 1 low-grade immortal stone of the same level every hour? That would be 2,400 essence, chi, and spirit in a day. If he completed this immortal title, he could just sleep in the future? Moreover, this immortal title directly gave him 2 million essence, chi, and spirit. What about next time? While he was deep in thought, the immortal title exuded a supreme and noble aura. It was also very domineering. After suppressing the immortal book, the immortal title made a move again. It had designs on the green light in his body. Smack! The green light obviously did not give face to heaven. It swung its hand and slapped the immortal book. Then the 2 brothers in hardship gathered together. Jiang Changkong, poor automatic hack. Heaven was indeed no match for Pangu. It would be an automatic hack in the future. Whoosh! The heavenly book suddenly appeared. An immortal title released a wisp of the aura of heaven into the heavenly book. After being affected by the aura of heaven, the heavenly book also changed and became noble. Jiang Changkong looked at the contents and the people he had killed before, as well as the marine race creatures he had seen, including the little Dragon King. East Sea Dragon King, Ao Ling, conscientious and conscientious, abides by the rules of heaven, meritorious and not wrong. Shrimp Dahai, loyal and devoted, assists the East Sea Dragon King. meritorious and not wrong. Qin Han, descending to the mortal world many times without permission, endangering the development of East Sea, death penalty, sent to the heavenly prison. Punishment is not enough. Reward of 100 days of power issued. Yen Rui, descending to the mortal world many times without permission, disturbing the peace of the lower world. Great crime, sent to the heavenly prison. Justice is fair. Reward of 100 days of power issued. Immortal, sect, disciple, Jiang Changkong looked at the heavenly book in a daze. This heavenly book could be used to sentence people? After pondering for a while, Jiang Changkong pointed at Ao Qingyu's line, which read, Ao Qingyu, dragon race, deceiving the heavenly court, death penalty, reward of 1 day of power, incomplete. Change it for me. Jiang Changkong stared at the heavenly book. Do you believe that I won't dismantle the immortal title? The heavenly book immediately changed. Ao Qingyu, merman, assists the East Sea Dragon King, meritorious and not wrong. Jiang Changkong, damn, it can really be changed? Chapter 510. Jiang Changkong remembered the heavenly god of justice. Erlang Shen, Yang Jian, was known as the #1 fighter in the heavenly court. The heavenly book of justice was a heavenly book enhanced by the power of heaven. Only the heavenly god of justice could wield it. If he didn't want to, even the celestial Darch wouldn't be able to read its contents. The heavenly book of justice would automatically show the other party's situation, whether they had violated the laws of heaven or done evil. The lightest punishment was to be sent to the heavenly prison for a period of time and have their cultivation level lowered. Any more severe punishment would be death, deprivation of the power of heaven, and so on. As for the heavenly god, that was a reward from the celestial Darch. The heavenly book only rewarded him. Every time he completed a mission, he would be rewarded with the power of heaven. 1 point of power of heaven, 10 points of essence, energy, and spirit. The heavenly title and heavenly book would strengthen and weaken according to his strength and the laws of heaven. If Jiang Changkong violated the laws of heaven, the heavenly title might take back the power of heaven or even weaken automatically, and it wouldn't help him anymore. Changing Ao Qingyu's sentence wasn't a problem. The heavenly title also gave him a message. The big picture couldn't be changed, but the small ones could be changed. As long as he didn't go too far, changing a lot of things and occasionally changing a few irrelevant ones wasn't a big problem. It could be considered a backdoor for the heavenly book. Jiang Changkong suddenly thought of a problem after understanding this information. If he perfected the heavenly title, would the celestial Darch not be able to take the initiative to attack him? As long as he didn't make any mistakes and was protected by the power of heaven, the celestial Darch wouldn't be able to easily get rid of him. From now on, I'll be a good judge. Jiang Changkong said firmly. There were missions everywhere in the chaotic celestial world. All the things he did before were rewarded by the power of heaven, which was the 2 million essence, energy, and spirit. It wasn't the skyrocketing increase from the heavenly title, but the reward from the law enforcement these days. I'll use the essence, energy, and spirit first. I want to see how the heaven will take it back in the future. Jiang Changkong sneered. Even if he perfected the heavenly title, he would still be a little brother in front of the chaotic Tao body. If he could upgrade the 9 revolutions mysterious art and become a sage, he would not be afraid even if the sky recovered. At the thought of this, Jiang Changkong began to perfect his martial arts. The accelerated cultivation of heaven's power became an automatic hack for him, and he didn't have to worry about breaking through directly. 2 million essence, chi, and spirit, 2nd revolution mysterious art. Jiang Changkong's strength began to increase rapidly. Overwhelming energy surged through his body as his immortal title and immortal record trembled in fear. 3 hours later, Jiang Changkong reached the peak of human celestial. Jiang Changkong, peak human immortal, human deity, 2nd transformation mysterious art, 2000000/2 1/2/000/000 acquired chaotic Taoist body. 1/2/000/000 essence, energy, and spirit. 795901 feeling the surge of chaos divine power in his body. Jiang Changkong's strength improved by another notch. After successfully entering seclusion, Jiang Changkong opened the door and went to look for the little Dragon King. The little Dragon King was comprehending the power of heaven. Seeing him, he said happily, "Brother Changkong, the power of heaven in your body is actually richer than mine. I obtained an immortal occupation." Jiang Changkong revealed his immortal occupation. When the little Dragon King governed the East Sea well, he would also have immortal title in the future. What's the benefit of the immortal title? The little Dragon King asked quickly. Jiang Changkong thought for a moment and said, "Is automatic cultivation considered a benefit?" The little Dragon King. There's such a benefit. The power of heaven in her body was still very weak. She could only accelerate the cultivation and not automatically cultivate. In the future, govern the East Sea well and bless the area around it with good weather, Jiang Changkong said. The little Dragon King nodded and discussed with him how to be a good Dragon King and obtain more power of heaven. The discussion between the two of them lasted for 2 days. Boom! Sea city shook and waves of immortal powers bombarded the East Sea. Dragon King, acting Dragon King, the 3 major celestial sects have invaded the East Sea. The Turtle Prime Minister ran in fear and reported the situation. The 3 major celestial sects said they want to settle the score with the acting Dragon King and make the East Sea submit. Damn it! Follow me to battle. The little Dragon King snorted and turned into a golden dragon, flying out of the dragon palace first. Leave it to me. Jiang Changkong's heart moved, and he quickly rushed out of the sea before the little Dragon King. In the sky above the East Sea, hundreds of immortals stood on the clouds and looked down at the East Sea. A figure stood with his hands behind his back. His aura was restrained and unfathomable. Jiang Changkong focused his eyes and looked at the figure. I can't see through him. The other party stood there, but couldn't be seen at all. His aura was restrained, but it gave him an invisible pressure. The power of heaven in his body vibrated, and the heavenly book appeared automatically. Information that only he could see appeared on it. The 3rd elder of the ocean celestial sect, Lan Qian, early stage divine being, disobeyed the laws of heaven and caused chaos among the people. He used immortals to refine mortal pills to increase his cultivation. He once killed the mountain gods and earth gods of the heavenly court. He attacked the East Sea and wanted to control it. Death penalty. Reward. 10,000 power of heaven. Incomplete. The 3 major celestial sects, 105 disciples. They reared demons and slaughtered the mountain gods and earth gods. He attacked the East Sea and wanted to control it. Death penalty. Reward. 100 power of heaven per person. The 105 were all heaven immortals. The weakest was a peak heaven immortal, and the strongest was an early stage heaven immortal. Killing them would give him 100,000 power of essence, energy, and spirit. Together with the deity, it would be 200,000. This was only the power of heaven, including the essence, energy, and spirit contained in their bodies. Jiang Changkong felt that he had a chance of becoming a heaven immortal. You're the acting Dragon King of the East Sea, Jiang Changkong? The deity in the lead looked down at Jiang Changkong with disdain. I also have another identity, the Heavenly Court's Inspector. The East Sea is the Heavenly Court's territory. Why are the 3 major celestial sects provoking the Heavenly Court? Jiang Changkong slowly rose into the air and looked at the deity. He didn't show any fear and didn't need to be afraid. He could test how strong his power of heaven was. Then die. Blue immortal light flashed. Lan Qian raised his palm and a vast divine aura spread. A unique power of law with a trace of immortal aura suppressed all immortal power wherever it passed. There seemed to be only blue light left in the sky. The blue immortal power seemed to be the only thing in the world. Jiang Changkong's heart sank. He activated the chaotic golden body, but he still felt small under this power. This was a deity. He had cultivated the immortal Tao fruit and was above heaven immortals. The other disciples of the three major celestial sects looked at this scene coldly with disdain. With the deity personally taking action, the person in front of them was definitely dead. This was the result of provoking the three major celestial sects. Buzz! Suddenly, a supreme aura spread out from Jiang Changkong's body. Rumble! The East Sea shook and waves surged. Invisible energy rose from the East Sea and poured into Jiang Changkong's body. Jiang Changkong's aura skyrocketed. His aura surged and his divine might surged. The power in his body seemed endless. When Jiang Changkong looked at the deity's attack again, it was obvious that the deity was small. The unfathomable deity was like an ant. The supreme ruler, the former heaven. Even if his immortal title wasn't complete, he was still the ruler of the celestial world. With the power of heaven, Jiang Changkong seemed to have become one with the East Sea. He met the deity's attack with a punch. Rumble! Terrifying divine light flashed, and the shockwave spread for dozens of miles. Deity Lan Qian's expression froze, and his aura erupted to resist the shockwave. The 105 heaven immortals lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at Jiang Changkong. The immortal title of Judge and the power of heaven. Chapter 511. You're strong enough to fight me? Lan Gong's face was filled with surprise. With the support of the power of the heavens, Jiang Changkong's entire being seemed ethereal. I'm not fighting you. I'm killing you. Jiang Changkong snorted coldly. Monstrous chaos divine energy erupted as he pressed down with his palm. He wouldn't be a match for a mid-stage deity, so he could only use his trump card. But now, with the power of heaven, he felt he could deal with it. The power of heaven and the chaotic divine power attacked. A large azure seal appeared, and it erupted with the unique light of the natural laws as it charged towards the giant chaotic hand. Rumble! The giant chaotic hand collapsed, and the azure seal flew back. Jiang Changkong leaped up, and his right hand turned into a palm as he ruthlessly slammed it towards the azure seal. Clang! When the palm landed, the seal trembled, and Jiang Changkong was forced to retreat several steps. How dare you resist my sea-suppressing seal head-on? How audacious! The deity expert controlled the seal, and the might of a deity surged. Go and capture the little dragon king. I'll kill him. Yes. The sky immortal disciples accepted the order and entered the East Sea. They can't go. Jiang Changkong snorted. The sea below shook, and an invisible barrier emitted a supreme aura, isolating them. You can't protect them, Lan Qian said. Lan Qian shouted in a low voice. The azure seal released immortal power, forming a blue bottle, devouring the sea. A strong suction force came, and Jiang Changkong's body shone with azure light. The golden armor was cracking. A top third-grade immortal artifact couldn't withstand it. The power of heaven stabilized Jiang Changkong's body. Jiang Changkong manifested his primal chaos divine power as he crossed the void and punched the azure seal. Boundless chaos divine power surged, and the blue Aquarius bottle was actually absorbing the chaos divine power crazily. Jiang Changkong frowned. The chaotic divine power in his body surged and poured into the bottle. Fool! You can't break it, even with all your immortal power. Lan Qian said proudly. He dared to swallow the entire East Sea with his sea-devouring art. Devouring the sky? Jiang Changkong sneered. Strands of heaven's power entered the bottle along with the chaos divine power. What? Lan Qian was slightly stunned. Heavens? What is the sky? He was once the supreme ruler of the immortal world, the heavenly Tao. Some secrets even recorded some information about heaven. However, heaven had died a long time ago. Amidst his bewilderment, a crisp cracking sound rang out. Traces of cracks actually appeared on the azure bottle. Boom! Then the bottle exploded, and the chaos divine power it had absorbed surged out and soared into the sky. The power of heaven was extremely precious. Even if it was just a little, it was not something that an immortal could absorb and refine. Terrifying chaos divine power surged out, and the azure seal was sent flying away. Cracks appeared on its surface. Pucci! Blood splattered everywhere. Blue blood splattered into the ocean. Lan Qian's face turned pale. Blue celestial energy burst forth to resist the chaotic divine energy. Jiang Changkong's eyes narrowed. He chased after the azure seal and punched the crack. This seal had a deep connection with Lan Qian. After it was damaged, he was injured as well. If he could shatter the seal, Lan Qian would definitely be heavily injured. Boom! The chaos divine power landed with full force, and the seal trembled as boundless celestial energy surged over. Crack! The sound of bones shattering could be heard. Jiang Changkong's body tumbled in the air, gray blood splattering and revealing his bones. The blue celestial energy annihilated the chaos, and a powerful aura spread. Lan Qian's expression was cold. You want to break my ocean-suppressing seal? Rumble. Before he finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The ocean-suppressing seal shook violently, and the chaos divine power raged. Jiang Changkong directly injected the chaos divine power into the ocean-suppressing seal. The chaos divine power circulated, and his injuries healed rapidly. Jiang Changkong attacked the ocean-suppressing seal again. However, Lan Qian waved his hand, and the ocean-suppressing seal automatically flew to his head. Rays of blue celestial light descended and entered his body. "Aunt, you've completely angered me," Lan Qian shouted angrily. With the support of the ocean-suppressing seal, his aura stabilized, and his injuries healed quickly. A blue sword appeared in his hand, and it also contained a unique and powerful nomological divine power. Jiang Changkong's expression turned solemn, and he punched the blue divine power head-on. With a loud bang, blood splattered. Jiang Changkong's divine power was strange, while Lan Qian's celestial energy was powerful. Facing a true celestial being, Jiang Changkong had been too careless. With the power of heaven, his strength was indeed no weaker than a celestial being. However, that was a celestial being without a fourth-grade celestial artifact. As an elder of the ocean-suppressing celestial sect, Lan Qian's ocean-suppressing seal was also a decent fourth-grade celestial artifact. His sword was also a fourth-grade celestial artifact. When the fist and sword clashed, the sword tore through his defense and almost cut off his arm. Fortunately, the power of heaven was extremely mysterious. In almost an instant, Jiang Changkong's injuries had mostly healed. On the other hand, the chaos divine power that could kill without injuring Lan Qian was crazily attacking his organs. Although the recovery of a celestial being was powerful, it couldn't compare to Jiang Changkong, who had the power of heaven. As long as the heavenly Tao didn't die, sages wouldn't die. Although he wasn't a sage, he could borrow the power of heaven. As long as he wasn't instantly killed, he basically couldn't be killed. Jiang Changkong punched again and again, completely disregarding his injuries. He allowed blood to splatter, bones and flesh to leave his body, but Jiang Changkong didn't seem to feel any pain. Lan Qian kept vomiting blood. The two of them were practically exchanging blows, and the one who couldn't hold on first would die. "Your damned recovery ability!" Lan Qian roared angrily. If not for Jiang Changkong's recovery ability, he would have cut Jiang Changkong into pieces. Jiang Changkong's expression was cold, and his fists and palms kept landing. "Here, I won't die. Today, you will die and no one can save you," Lan Qian said coldly, and a blue jade pennant flew out and exploded. Jiang Changkong said coldly, calling for help. The three immortal sects really aren't afraid of the heavenly court being exterminated. Exterminated? Do you think you can represent the heavenly court? Or do you think the heavenly court will offend us for a heavenly soldier? Lan Qian said coldly, We dared to come this time because someone wants you dead. Jiang Chongkong was startled. Heavenly court's people? You won't have the chance to find out. Lan Gan snorted coldly as his azure sword slashed down. Jiang Chongkong's expression was dark. He had expected this, and he attacked Lan Qian again. Blue and gray blood splattered, and the two's injuries worsened. In the end, even the power of heaven couldn't heal them instantly. The heavenly law hadn't fully recovered, and the immortal position he had obtained wasn't complete. Up until now, he had used up a lot of power of heaven. Luckily, Lan Qian was about the same. Lan Qian's injuries were worse, and he had used up more power. Buzz! 3 rays of light suddenly appeared in the sky far away, and their unique and powerful divine auras suppressed the entire East Sea. The East Sea was shaking, and countless marine races were in fear. Wherever the divine auras passed, the power of heaven retreated, and the sea flipped. It was like doomsday. In order to kill you for immortals, it's your honor to die. Lan Qian sneered, and he retreated. Immortal light shone around him, and his divine aura was vast. The East Sea will also become more prosperous under my rule. You can go in peace. 4 immortals against a peak human immortal. This was indeed a great honor. Jiang Chongkong's eyes were cold, and the heavenly book clattered. Then I'll lay my cards on the table too. Chapter 512. In that case, I'll also lay my cards on the table. Jiang Chongkong said calmly as a majestic aura spread out from his body. The heavenly book vibrated, and a supreme divine aura spread out. Everything stopped where the divine aura passed. The 4 deities froze in the air at the same time. This is an immortal lord, immortal lord. Terrified cries came out of their mouths. Their faces were filled with shock. Immortal lords were existences above deities. Martial, human, and sky immortals could still kill enemies above their level. However, at the level of deities, it was possible to surpass a minor level, but almost impossible to surpass a major level. Even the weakest immortal lord only cultivated a low-tier immortal sutra. Ordinary deities could not surpass them. Even immortals who cultivated a high-tier immortal sutra and were extremely talented could not face an immortal lord without special means. Immortal lords could be called monarchs among deities. The laws of the immortal Tao were completely above deities. The terrifying divine aura was still growing stronger and stronger. A purple immortal light condensed on the heavenly book. A wisp of special aura spread out, far surpassing an immortal lord. Immortal king? The 4 deities' expressions were filled with despair and a hint of confusion. It was an immortal king clone. A demoted heavenly soldier actually had an immortal king clone? Was this something that could be resisted after killing it? The 4 deities had the same thought. We've been tricked. This was a pit that could bury 3 major immortal sects. Inspector Jiang Chongkong greets Heavenly King Ziwei. Jiang Chongkong waved his hand, and the heavenly book displayed a message. Reporting to Heavenly King Ziwei, this is the heavenly book's judgment on them. Oh, the heavenly book of justice? You've improved. In that case, I'll take them and let you handle them. Heavenly King Ziwei's clone looked at the heavenly book of justice with a strange glint in his eyes. The heavenly book had completely changed. Jiang Chongkong, the heavenly court's heavenly god of justice, possessed the duty of justice. Heavenly King, it's Yan Rui and Lu Ji. They told us to come. Heavenly King, please spare us. We didn't know they were your people. Please spare us. The 4 deities begged, their faces pale with fright. Heaven wants you to die. Heavenly King Ziwei said indifferently. With a wave of his hand, the 4 immortals and the 105 heavenly immortals below them all flew to Jiang Chongkong like little chicks. Spare us, Heavenly King, spare us. We are willing to join the heavenly court and serve the heavenly court for eternity. We are willing to be slaves for all eternity. Cries for mercy resounded throughout the sky above the East Sea. But immortal monarch Ziwei ignored them and looked at Jiang Changkong. Heavenly God of Justice, do it! Thank you, Heavenly King. Jiang Changkong cupped his hands and bowed. His spear appeared and reaped lives. Heavenly King, Ziwei, watched from the side. As Jiang Changkong reaped lives, his heavenly power increased bit by bit. His essence energy was also increasing, releasing the power of heaven. Fortunately, Heavenly King Ziwei didn't make a move. If he did, the power of the heavens would be greatly reduced. 4 immortals meant 400,000 essence, chi, and spirit. Together with the 105 heavenly soldiers, it would be 105,000 essence, chi, and spirit. 505,000 essence, chi, and soul. If he destroyed the 3 immortal sects, how strong would he become? The Heavenly Book of Justice, the immortal title in his body, was also changing. The power of heaven contained within it became denser and denser. Let's go. After he killed the last immortal, Heavenly King Ziwei waved his hand and left with the corpses of the 3 immortal sects. He stepped forward and crossed the void. In the blink of an eye, he was already at the southern heaven gate. The 2 entered the southern heaven gate directly. The heavenly soldiers were still in a daze. Inside a pavilion in King Ziwei's palace, Heavenly King Ziwei's main body was sipping tea. "Show me your Heavenly Book of Justice," Heavenly King Ziwei said. Jiang Changkong took out the Heavenly Book of Justice and showed it to him. There was also a message on it. Heavenly King Ziwei, loyal and devoted to protect the heavenly court. Great merit. It can show me? And merit? Heavenly King Ziwei was surprised. There was a detailed introduction under the message. For example, he had expanded the heavenly court's territory and made many contributions. This is the Heavenly King's own will. A hint of understanding appeared in Jiang Changkong's mind. The immortal title is not complete. Those above the star venerate cannot appear unless they are willing. With this heavenly book, those who violate the rules of heaven can no longer hide. Heavenly King Ziwei said joyfully. Some malignant tumors of the heavenly court would have nowhere to hide. They will only appear when they see the other party. Jiang Changkong shook his head. There are many drawbacks, such as Yan Rui and Lu Ji. Although Yan Rui and Lu Ji had appeared before, they did not reveal that they had colluded with the 3 immortal sects. Heavenly King, Ziwei nodded. I have already called Lu Ji and Yan Rui over. Let's do it according to the rules of heaven. As soon as he finished speaking, a female immortal arrived with Lu Ji and Yan Rui. Greetings, Heavenly King. The 2 greeted respectfully. Heavenly King Ziwei did not say anything. He only looked at the heavenly book. The heavenly book changed again. Yan Rui has gone to the lower realms many times, disturbed the peace of the lower realms, bullied the kind, and committed many crimes. He has colluded with the 3 immortal sects and harmed the heavenly God of justice. He is sentenced to death. Considering his many contributions to the heavenly court, he will be stripped of his heavenly immortal cultivation and demoted to a human immortal. Lu Ji has gone to the lower realms many times, stripped of his heavenly immortal cultivation and demoted to a human immortal. They and their fathers had made some contributions to the heavenly court. The heavens still remembered this. Jiang Changkong did not feel dissatisfied. The heavenly book only showed the human immortal cultivation level and did not specify the specifics. The reward of the power of heaven was also hidden. Each person would be rewarded with 100 power of heaven. Do it! Heavenly King Ziwei said indifferently. Yes, Heavenly King. Jiang Changkong bowed slightly. What? What do you want to do? Heavenly King, he wants to commit murder. The 2's expressions changed as they hurriedly shouted. Heavenly King Ziwei said indifferently, the Heavenly Book of Justice has already announced it. What Heavenly Book of Justice? Heavenly God of Justice? The 2 didn't understand, But in the next instant, a profound aura flew out of Jiang Changkong's body and entered the two's bodies. They felt a sharp pain as if their souls were being torn apart. The two's cultivation levels dropped rapidly. Human immortal peak stage, human immortal late stage, all the way to early stage, human immortal. Jiang Changkong held the heavenly book of justice and said indifferently, "The execution is complete." The power of heaven had arrived. The two's auras were weak and their faces were pale. "Heavenly King, take them away. In the future, strictly follow the heavenly laws, or it will not be as simple as a drop in cultivation level." Heavenly King, Ziwei, snorted coldly and had the female immortals take them away. After the two left, Heavenly King Ziwei took out a ring and said, "Changkong, your heavenly god of justice is still a little weak. These are some resources. Use them to cultivate and become an immortal as soon as possible." "Thank you for your reward, Heavenly King Ziwei." Jiang Changkong bowed. "Go. The celestial arch will inform the heavenly court of your heavenly god of justice position. It's still the same cultivation room. After that, go and enforce the law." Heavenly King Ziwei waved his hand. Jiang Changkong turned around and went into seclusion in the secret chamber. He entered the secret chamber and opened the ring. There were piles of resources inside. 500 third-grade, inferior-grade immortal stones, 600 spiritual accumulations, and 5 bottles of golden pills. "Not bad. I got a mouthful of soup." Jiang Changkong began to extract essence, energy, and spirit. 1.06 million essence, energy, and spirit. The heaven immortal realm was stable. The Tao voice sounded again. Jiang Changkong first perfected his acquired chaotic Tao body, then stepped into the heaven immortal realm. Heaven immortals were heaven immortals who had touched the laws of the immortal Tao. All the impurities in the human world had been expelled from their bodies. He directly comprehended the laws of the primal chaos. The Tao voice accelerated his transformation, and his immortal title became more perfect. Chapter 5:13. The immortal world contained laws. Only by comprehending the laws could one be considered to have entered the threshold of the immortal Tao. Martial immortals and human immortals could only be considered as low-level immortals. Celestial immortals could barely be considered as high-level experts. Only deities could be considered experts. Jiang Changkong comprehended his own nomological power, and his great Tao characteristics were still there. According to the information he had obtained from the heavenly court, the primal chaos law, comprehended by the chaos body, could at most be considered a decent law. Without these characteristics, it could not be divided into other powers. Jiang Changkong sensed the increase in his strength as the law of primal chaos circulated within his body. Different characteristics manifested at the same time. The power of laws itself had all kinds of characteristics, and suppressing characteristics was only one of them. The law of water could encompass all things, and it had the ability to penetrate rocks with dripping water. Now that he had comprehended the law of primal chaos, Jiang Changkong's various characteristics had been greatly enhanced. Jiang Changkong, early stage heaven immortal, heaven god, 3 revolutions mysterious art. Entry: 1/32,000 acquired chaotic Taoist body. Basic: 1/32,000 essence, energy, and spirit. 37190. If not, he wouldn't even have 37,000 points left. Jiang Changkong pondered for a moment and continued to cultivate the 3 revolutions mystic art. He was not in a hurry to step into the middle stage of heaven immortal. As the power of the law of chaos grew, Jiang Changkong noticed that his postnatal chaotic Tao body had broken through, and the green light had also become denser. The law of primal chaos floated in the azure light. It seemed to like being together with the azure light. After reaching the great circle of the heavenly immortal early stage, another 2 hours passed, and Lin Fan's cultivation state stabilized. Essence, qi, spirit, plus 100. Fortunately, The automatic hack did not shrink. Jiang Changkong, early stage heaven immortal, heaven god. 3 revolutions mysterious art. Beginner. 32,000/32,000 acquired chaotic Taoist body. Basic. 1/32,000 essence, energy and spirit. 5. 291 inch. It's time to patrol the lower realms. Jiang Changkong thought about it and decided to leave. He didn't want to waste any more time. He wanted to go and enforce the law as soon as possible. After leaving the cultivation chamber, Jiang Changkong headed straight for the South Heaven Gate. Greetings, Heavenly God of Justice. Yun Qiming bowed politely. Greetings, Heavenly God of Justice. The heavenly soldiers also saluted. During the 2 hours that he was in seclusion, the Celestial Arch had already issued a decree, conferring him the title of Heavenly God of Justice. Now, the heavenly soldiers did not dare to provoke Jiang Changkong. The heavenly emperor was standing behind him and supporting him. Jiang Changkong held the arcane tome of justice and smiled. Hello, everyone. Heavenly God of Justice, what are you looking at? Yun Qiming asked curiously. He also took a look at the heavenly book and found that it was completely blank. Nothing much. I just want to invite you to the imperial prison. Jiang Changkong grinned, and his chaotic divine power suppressed everyone present. Heavenly God of Justice, please don't joke around. Yun Qiming and the heavenly soldier's expressions changed at the same time. We haven't violated the rules of heaven during this period of time. The heavenly soldier's expressions changed drastically. Jiang Changkong didn't listen to them and captured them all. 100 martial immortal heavenly soldiers were worth 1 day of strength each. A human celestial leader was worth 10 days of strength. Sky Immortal Sky, General Yun Qiming, worth 100. 10 heavens power, still 10 times, 2,100 essence, chi and spirit. No matter how small a mosquito's leg was, it was still meat. The crimes committed by these heavenly soldiers weren't very serious. They were basically releasing heavenly court immortals into the lower realm. They hadn't done it in the past few days, but they had done it in the past. Jiang Changkong dragged the southern heavenly gate heavenly soldiers to the imperial prison. The 2 prison guards were astonished. You captured all the guards of the southern heavenly gate? Jiang Changkong looked at the heavenly book. 2 heavenly immortal prison guards were worth 200 heavens power. Knowingly breaking the law was an additional crime. 15 minutes later, Jiang Changkong also locked the 2 prison guards in with a group of heavenly soldiers. Jiang Changkong, I'm a prison guard of the imperial prison. You dare to put me in the imperial prison? One of the prison guards roared. We are the ones in charge of the imperial prison. You're seizing power. You're crossing the line. Jiang Changkong turned a deaf ear to the jailer's roars. Jiang Changkong, you're too much. You're acting lawlessly just because you're favored by the Celestial Arch. 10 heavenly immortal prison guards rushed over. Immortal light exploded as they stabbed their spears at Jiang Changkong. I'm following the rules of heaven. Jiang Changkong snorted coldly. 10 heavenly immortals, 20,000 essence, chi and spirit. I can consider leveling up in the heavenly court until I become a deity. Soon, the 10 heavenly immortals were thrown into the imperial prison. Jiang Changkong, I'm going to report you to the deities. I'm going to. You're disrupting the heavenly court and harming it. Guards, Jiang Changkong has gone mad. He's gone mad in the imperial prison. Furious roars came from outside the imperial prison. The commotion was so huge that it alarmed the other heavenly immortals. Jiang Changkong looked excited. Since he was going to make a move, he might as well be straightforward. Capture one and lock one up. The imperial prison was no different from the heavenly army guarding the gate. Their superiors went out to enjoy themselves and left all the trivial matters to the prison guards. If there was a difference, it was the difference in strength. Those who could become prison guards were basically heavenly immortals. Ha ha ha! Little heavenly immortal, come over here. Open the prison door and let me out. I'll guarantee your safety. Loud laughter came from one of the prison cells. TSK, TSK, a heavenly immortal actually dares to cause trouble in the Imperial prison. Junior, let me out, and I'll grant you an opportunity. Excited shouts came from the various prison cells. The Heavenly Court's Imperial prison was not a good place. Many immortals who dared to resist the Heavenly Court were imprisoned here. There were even some prison cells that held deities and Starvenerates. All of you, shut up. You're a bunch of criminals who don't abide by the rules of heaven. Be careful, or I'll kill you all. Jiang Chongkong shouted as he opened the prison cell and threw the prison guards in. Take him down! Furious roars rang out as the prison guards came over to give him the power of heaven. Jiang Chongkong did not refuse any of them. Soon, more than 100 heavenly immortal prison guards were thrown in. 100,000 essence, chi, and spirit. This was just a group of prison guards. If he gave them all to the 4 heavenly gates and even the heavenly court's heavenly soldiers, wouldn't he surpass deities? By then he would be celestial Lord Justice. What are you doing? A furious roar rang out. A unique divine might spread out, and an immortal aura spread out. An immortal expert. He wore golden armor and held a divine whip. He had a gloomy expression as he stared at Jiang Chongkong coldly. I'm following the rules of heaven, Jiang Chongkong said indifferently. You should go in too. How dare you? I'll take you down and throw you into the Imperial prison to be burned by the immortal fire every day. The immortal expert roared furiously. His immortal might spread out, and his divine whip lashed out like a dragon. Jiang Chongkong once again experienced the feeling of being insignificant. Even though he was at the peak early stage heavenly immortal, it was still the same. He still could not deal with a deity. A jade token appeared in Jiang Chongkong's hand. He said indifferently, My only superior is Heavenly King Ziwei. Attacking me is equivalent to provoking the Heavenly King. The divine whip suddenly stopped, and the immortal expert's expression became even uglier. Even a heavenly king cannot cause trouble in the Imperial prison. Cause trouble? Don't you know what the Imperial prison has become? A cold voice sounded. A purple light flashed, and Heavenly King Ziwei appeared. He could not help but say angrily, I gave you so many resources, but you're only an early-stage heavenly immortal? Jiang Chongkong, I've embarrassed you. You broke through on your own, and you're 8 times stronger than a top-grade heavenly immortal. What can I do? Why don't you give me some more resources? The immortal expert. Does that mean this guy is really Heavenly King Ziwei's confidant? Heavenly King Ziwei pointed a finger. An array of purple light entered Jiang Chongkong's heavenly book. This is the last clone. Quickly help me become a deity. Chapter 5:14. The divine immortal was a little confused. Why did Heavenly King Ziwei think so highly of Jiang Chongkong? This was clearly a troublemaker, a scourge, locking all the prison guards inside. It's fine as long as you don't blame me. But you actually say that I'm improving too slowly and even have a clone protect me? The clone of an immortal king. He could poke an immortal to death with just one finger. This was the last time. Did that mean that it was more than once? Go to the lower realms. Don't be so reckless next time. Heavenly King Ziwei waved his hand. Jiang Chongkong sighed and looked at the immortal expert reluctantly. Why don't I lock him up before leaving? A divine immortal expert would require 10,000 heaven strength and 100,000 essence, chi, and spirit. Heavenly King Ziwei frowned, and his face turned green. You're too much. You're just a celestial immortal. Lock him up and deal with him yourself, Heavenly King Ziwei said indifferently. The immortal was speechless. Why? Even when he was thrown into the cell, he still didn't understand why. Jiang Chongkong swaggered his way to the southern heavenly gate. Occasionally he would encounter an immortal, but they would all avoid him. This was a scourge, a fellow who didn't even recognize his own family. No matter who it was, he dared to throw him into the imperial prison. When passing by the southern heavenly gate, Jiang Changkong almost couldn't help but lock up the new heavenly soldier guarding the gate. After leaving the heavenly courts, the heavenly soldiers all heaved a sigh of relief. After descending to the lower realm, Jiang Changkong immediately found a place to go into seclusion. Current essence, chi, and spirit 225790 directly entering the mid-stage heavenly immortal realm would make things easier for him. The chaotic Tao body became stronger, and the green light in his body became denser. The law of primal chaos also became excited. As his Tao body improved, his immortal title and immortal record became more and more afraid, instinctively distancing themselves from him. 2 hours later, Jiang Changkong stepped into the intermediate heavenly immortal stage. Jiang Changkong, mid-stage heaven immortal, heaven god, third revolution mysterious art. Initial success, 1/160,000 acquired chaotic Taoist body. Initial success, 1/160,000 essence, energy, and spirit. 193990 Jiang Changkong then started to perfect the 3 revolutions mystic art. After an hour, he reached the peak of the middle heaven immortal stage. Are we going to the 3 major celestial sects next? Jiang Changkong fell into deep thought. The East China Sea was no longer suitable for him to grind levels. It was too peaceful. He could either go to the back mountain of the 3 major celestial sects and continue to cause trouble for the monster clan, or go to the territory ruled by the 3 major celestial sects. After pondering for a while, Jiang Changkong decided to go to the territory ruled by the 3 major celestial sects. At the back of the mountain, if he made any noise, it was very likely that he would attract the attention of the immortals. After all, heavenly monarch Ziwei wasn't his goon, and this was his final clone. He couldn't always count on him to help him. Reaching the immortal realm as soon as possible would be the start of his dream. Flying through the air, Jiang Changkong left the East Sea and officially entered the human domain of the immortal world. In a huge city, there were people coming and going. There were demons, humans, and even heavenly soldiers. Jiang Changkong descended from the sky. The golden armor on his body turned into ordinary clothes, and he put away his spear. With the Almanac of Justice in hand, he entered the city. The Profound Cloud Immortal City was a city established by the Profound Cloud Immortal sect. There were countless peddlers hawking their wares. Jiang Changkong glanced at the peddlers. The things they sold were ordinary. Some were not even immortal grade, and only a small number had reached the first grade. Moving through the crowd, the transactions here were all cultivation resources. There was no fixed currency. After entering an inn with many customers, Jiang Changkong ordered some dishes and sat down to read the almanac. At the same time, he paid attention to the group of customers. Messages appeared on the almanac, but he couldn't be bothered to read them. They were all below the immortal level. They didn't even have a bit of heavenly power. He wouldn't do this mission. Buzz! Suddenly, a message appeared on the almanac. Li Qingyin, Peak Heaven Immortal, disciple of the Divine Sword Immortal sect, killed 3 heavenly soldiers, colluded with the heavenly courts Yen Rui, and committed countless evil deeds. Death penalty. Reward: 100 heavenly power. Jiang Changkong glanced at Li Qingyun, who was walking down from the 2nd floor of the inn. Keep the change. Jiang Changkong casually threw down a tear, 1 immortal herb. This was what he had obtained from the Demon King's treasure troves. It was enough to pay for the meal. The waiter looked at him strangely. The food hadn't even been served yet, but it was fine as long as he paid. Jiang Changkong followed Li Qingyin, shuttling through the crowd and arriving at a remote place. Jiang Changkong used his chaotic divine power to search the soul of someone nearby and learned that this was the slums. There was also a gap between the rich and the poor in the celestial world, and it was obvious that the weak were poor while the strong were rich. This was a place where the weak lived. Even near immortals were rare. What is Li Qingyun doing here? Jiang Chongkong hid in the void and was puzzled. Don't come over. A young man looked at Li Qingyun in fear. He recognized the golden sword pattern on Li Qingyun's clothes. It was the symbol of the Divine Sword Immortal Sect. Master of the Divine Sword Immortal Sect, what can I do for you? A middle-aged celestial sacred warrior quickly knelt in front of Li Qingyun, respectful with a hint of fear. Not far away, some martial artists also hurriedly retreated as if they had seen something terrifying. Don't panic. Li Qingyun smiled and held back the middle-aged celestial sacred warrior with a gentle celestial power. I am a kind person. I learned that you are poor, so I came to help. After saying that, he took out some resources. Under the stunned gazes of the middle-aged martial artist and the young man, Li Qingyun smiled. I have specially prepared some resources that you can use. Take them. The middle-aged man didn't move and looked at him in disbelief. The young man swallowed and whispered, Really? Of course. Everything has a chance of survival. The Divine Sword Immortal Sect is kind. In addition to these resources, I will also give you a chance to join the Divine Sword Immortal Sect. Li Qingyun said with a smile. A chance to join the Divine Sword Immortal Sect? The young man and the middle-aged martial artist were surprised. However, the middle-aged martial artist didn't lose his mind. He said respectfully, What can I do for you, Immortal? Li Qingyun looked at him with satisfaction. I will come back tomorrow. At that time, I want all of you to know my good name. Can you do that? Yes. The middle-aged man quickly said. Then he asked cautiously, Can you join the Divine Sword Immortal Sect if you do it? Of course, with my guarantee, you will definitely be able to join the Divine Sword Immortal Sect, Li Qingyun said with a cold expression. But if you don't do it well, you know the consequences. Immortal, let us go. We will definitely let everyone know the good name of the Immortal, the two said. Li Qingyun said calmly, I don't need everyone to know as long as you ants know. It will be too fake if too many people know about it. Understood. After saying that, Li Qingyun left the Mystic Cloud Immortal City. What the hell is Li Qingyun up to? Jiang Chongkong was slightly confused as he followed behind. The disciples of the three major immortal sects were notorious. The Almanac of Justice also showed that Li Qingyun wasn't a good person. Who is he trying to show his good name to? Li Qingyun came to a stop after leaving the Mystic Cloud Immortal City. A figure appeared and looked at him with a smile. Senior Brotherly, it's all arranged. A small village will be attacked by a monster king tomorrow. Senior Brother will be able to save the village. Thank you. Please tell Yan Rui and Lu Ji that I, Li Qingyun, will remember their kindness. Li Qingyun cupped his fists. Then, I will wait for Senior Brother's good news. The figure smiled faintly, turned into a streak of light and left. Chapter 515. Lu Ji, Yan Rui. Jiang Chongkong was even more confused. What are these two bastards doing instead of cultivating hard? They've already been demoted to a human deity, yet they're still wandering around. After thinking for a while, Jiang Chongkong chased after the figure. It was a human deity, heavenly soldier. The human deity, heavenly soldier's target was the passageway to heaven. Not long after the heavenly soldier left Li Qingyun, a gray light flashed in front of him. Jiang Chongkong blocked his way. You're Jiang Chongkong. The heavenly soldier's expression changed, and he looked at him in fear. Jiang Chongkong said calmly, Why don't we sit down and talk? Move. I have to go back and report, the heavenly soldier said coldly. You can't go back, Jiang Chongkong said calmly. Die. The golden sword aura slashed over. The heavenly soldier turned around and ran. At the same time, he took out a jade pendant and was about to crush it. In the next second, his body stiffened and he flew towards Jiang Chongkong uncontrollably. The sword aura dissipated. Jiang Chongkong pressed on the heavenly soldier's forehead and started searching his soul. Streams of information appeared in his mind. Although he had the heavenly book, Jiang Chongkong was still enraged when he saw the scene. Not only did he abuse his power while patrolling the lower world, but he also tortured many people to death. As a heavenly soldier of the heavenly courts, not only did he not really help the heavenly courts, but he also ruined their reputation. Apart from that, he also helped Yan Rui and Lu Ji contact the three major celestial sects to attack him. This time, Lu Ji used him to contact Li Qingyan, mainly to lure Zilan and Yu Xue into the trap. These two fairies were not very powerful, but they had a strong background. Yu Xue did not know that Zilan was the daughter of Heavenly King Ziwei. When the two fairies went to play in the lower world, Lu Ji had always been in charge of helping them sneak out. At first, their relationship was not bad. However, as Jiang Chongkong appeared, the two fairies actually started to pay attention to the heavenly rules and seemed to want to abandon him. This made Lu Ji anxious, and he hated Jiang Chongkong. That was why the three major celestial sects invited the immortals to kill him. After being demoted to a human celestial, Lu Jian was about to go crazy and wanted to kill him immediately. However, Heavenly Monarch Ziwei was clearly siding with Jiang Chongkong, so they could only target Zilan. He would first curry favor with Fairy Violet Orchid. Then he would try to persuade Heavenly King Ziwei to abandon him. At that time, he would be able to kill him at will. Li Qingyan was their partner, a disciple of the Immortal Sword sect. The three major celestial sects were the absolute rulers of Mystic Cloud Immortal City. Li Qingyan was a peak heaven immortal and had a great reputation in Mystic Cloud Immortal City, but it was a bad reputation. The rest of the places had already been taken care of. Only the slums were left, so he personally went there. As for letting them enter the Immortal Sword sect in the future, it didn't exist. Once he was done using them, those ants could just die. Then there was the matter of the village. He would arrange for a small village to drive away the monster kings and attack the village to increase his reputation. Zilan and Yu Xue, the two fairies, had always been in the heavenly court. To put it nicely, they were high above and didn't understand the situation below. To put it bluntly, they were insensible and inexperienced. They were kind-hearted. Wherever they went, whenever they saw poor people, they would lend a helping hand. Lu Ji used this to let many people come into contact with them and become good friends. Therefore, in front of Yu Xue and Fairy Xylin, the two peak heaven immortal disciples that Jiang Chongkong killed were great benefactors and good immortals. Coupled with Lu Ji's introduction, the two girls almost easily trusted them. Although the method is very old-fashioned, it is quite useful for inexperienced little girls. Jiang Chongkong looked at the heavenly soldiers. Since that was the case, he would cooperate with them and kill the Monster King himself. Thinking of this, he poured chaos divine power into the heavenly soldiers and went to find the Monster King. The village wasn't far, and it was well decorated. Hundreds of flowers bloomed around it, and the fragrance of flowers was strong. The Monster King was in a small mountain near the village, waiting for the signal tomorrow. An early-stage heaven immortal Monster King, Jiang Chongkong, entered the cave. The heavenly book also showed the Monster King's information. He actually had the power of heaven, 100. Why are you here again? The Monster King looked at the heavenly soldiers with a trace of doubt. To kill you, Jiang Chongkong said indifferently. He raised his palm, and the heaven immortal Monster King was destroyed, turning into ashes. Essence, spirit, and spirit. 110. The power of heaven was still the biggest factor. He suddenly looked forward to how much he would benefit after heaven truly recovered. As for Celestial Emperor, that had nothing to do with him. As long as he had enough essence, spirit, and spirit, he might dare to shout out Sun Wukong's words. Celestial Emperor will take turns to be my Celestial Emperor next year. After doing all this, he left behind a large amount of chaos divine power and left the heavenly soldiers. Jiang Chongkong turned into light and left. With a shake of his body, Jiang Chongkong transformed into the heavenly soldiers. He only changed his appearance, figure, and simulated aura. It was a small trick. Jiang Changkong hid in the void and came to the slums. He watched the youth and the middle-aged martial artist persuade the others and promised many benefits. In their opinion, as long as they joined the divine Sword Immortal sect, they would be superior to others in the future. They would be like the disciples of the 3 great immortal sects, and they would be able to do whatever they wanted in Mystic Cloud Immortal City. The night passed quickly. The next morning, Jiang Changkong opened his eyes. He felt like he was being watched, but he couldn't sense it. The rising sun shone, and a beam of light flashed. Li Qingyun had arrived, and beside him were 2 fairies. I come here every day to see them. I really hope that they can join the divine Sword Immortal sect and become stronger. Li Qingyun walked into the slums with a compassionate expression. Immortal, it's the kind, great immortal Li. Surprised voices came from the room. The youth and the middle-aged martial artist led a group of martial artists out. They all knelt and said excitedly, Great immortal Li, I've told you many times not to kneel to me. Li Qingyun raised his hand. Celestial light was gentle as he lifted them up. Many resources appeared in his hand. These are all gifts for you. Become immortals soon and join the divine Sword Immortal sect. Thank you, great immortal Li. If not for him, we would have been eaten by the Demon King long ago. Yes, great immortal Li saved us and gave us resources. He's the best immortal. We will definitely become immortals in the future. Li Qingyun enjoyed it very much. The 2 fairies seemed to believe him, and the youth was even more exaggerated. He cried and screamed about how miserable he was in the past, how his parents had been eaten by demons, how he had no way to cultivate, and how he couldn't avenge his parents. The others were the same. Fairy Xylan's expression changed slightly. She pointed with a finger, and purple light entered their minds. This is a high-grade Immortal Sutra. It can be cultivated to the immortal realm. Cultivate well in the future and protect yourself. Thank you, Fairy. Thank you. Jiang Changkong. This wastrel was really rich. She could casually give out a high-grade Immortal Sutra? Great Immortal Li, bad news. Our village is being attacked by the Demon King. Please save us, Great Immortal Li. A martial immortal ran over, covered in blood. There's such a thing. Let's go. I'll rush over immediately. 2 fairies, forgive me for not being a good host. Please rest in the inn. I'll come over when I'm done. With that, great immortal Li Qingyun left with the martial immortals. Let's go together. The 2 fairies hurried to follow. Buzz! An invisible force grabbed Fairy Yushua and said indifferently, The show isn't over yet. You're leaving just like that? Yushua was stunned. Xylan and the others had already left. She frowned and said, Who are you? Let go of me, or I won't be polite. The void fluctuated, and Jiang Changkong appeared in front of Fairy Yushua. Fairy, why don't you hide yourself? Fairy Xylan won't be in danger. Heavenly soldiers? What do you want? Fairy Yushua was puzzled. Jiang Changkong waved his hand, and the 2 of them hid in the void. Chapter 516. A superior grade Immortal Sutra that can be cultivated to the immortal realm. Great, there's hope for us. We can become immortals too. One by one, the martial artists cried out in excitement. Thump, thump. Heavy footsteps could be heard as 2 figures walked over. One of them was surrounded by azure celestial energy, while the other was as ethereal as the clouds. A superior grade Immortal Sutra that can be cultivated to the immortal realm. Is that something you can have? The azure celestial power fluctuated. The young immortal looked at them greedily. Hand over the Immortal Sutra, and we'll spare your lives. That fairy gave it to us. Li Qingyun agreed. The young man said coldly. Uft. The ethereal sword flashed, and a head flew. The other young immortal said coldly, I'll say it again. Hand it over. You stole the Immortal Sutra. Li Qingyun won't let you off. The martial artists retreated in fear. Li Qingyan? Naive ants. Do you really think you can join the divine sword sect? The azure celestial light flashed. Those two idiotic female immortals can't stand you, ants, acting pitiful. Every time they go to a place, they'll give out opportunities. Ants like you will think that the opportunity has arrived. Another head flew up. The ferocious face was filled with killing intent. This time they actually gave us a superior grade Immortal Sutra. We're really lucky. You deserve to die. Yu Shue shouted angrily. She never thought that the opportunity she left behind would end up like this. Who's talking? The two immortals' expressions froze as they looked at the void. The void fluctuated. Fairy Yu Shue's white dress fluttered, holding a golden long sword. The sword ray killed the two. You didn't leave? The two immortals' expressions changed. They didn't expect Yu Shue, who was supposed to leave, to be watching from the side. Jiang Changkong's expression was calm. He watched the scene silently and didn't make a move. The two were only human immortals. They couldn't take a single move. The sword ray landed and the two immortals turned into ashes. They couldn't be more dead. The group of poor martial artists looked at the scene in fear and hurriedly fled. They were afraid that you would take back the Immortal Sutra, Jiang Changkong said lightly. They and Li Qingyan lied to you. Then who are you? You're not lying to me, are you? Fairy Yu Shue's expression was very ugly. The friend that Lu Ji introduced was actually such a person. Thinking about it, from the very beginning, it was Lu Ji who had arranged for the two of them to descend to the lower realm. The things they left behind were probably all for Lu Ji's benefit. Me, the last person you want to see, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. His figure changed, and he returned to his original appearance. Patrol Jiang Changkong. Fairy Yu Shue's face darkened. Let's go and see Fairy Violet Orchid. If we don't go for a long time, Li Qingyan will become suspicious. Jiang Changkong smiled faintly, turned into light, and left. Yu Shue's face was cold. You knew it from the beginning? I just found out not long ago. By the way, that Demon King was also arranged by Li Qingyan, but I've already killed him. Jiang Changkong said indifferently, I've helped you vent your anger. Leave this Li Qingyan to me. Just now, when the two human immortals died, he did not obtain the power of heaven because he was not the one enforcing the law. This kind of business-stealing behavior once was enough. He could not let the big fish go. Yu Shue said coldly, he lied to me. I want to kill him with my own hands. No, this is my mission as the heavenly god of justice. Jiang Changkong said indifferently, I'm now the heavenly god of justice, not the patrol. I've been promoted. I don't care if you're the heavenly god of justice or the patrol. I want to kill you with my own hands. You won't have the chance. Jiang Changkong sneered, his figure suddenly speeding up. His strength was already at the peak of the mid-stage Sky Immortal, far surpassing Yu Shue. In the small village, where the flowers were in full bloom, Li Qingyan and Fairy Violet Orchid were at a loss. Did we come too fast? Or too slow? Where's the Demon King? Didn't they say that there would be a Demon King attack? They looked at the intact village. Not even a single branch of the surrounding flowers was broken. Li Qingyan frowned and secretly glanced at the villagers. The villagers looked back at him blankly. We don't know either. You arranged for the Demon King, great immortal Li. We all followed your instructions and sent people to prepare to cut off one of our legs and pretend to be seriously injured. In the end, it was the Demon King you arranged who stood us up. There doesn't seem to be a Demon King here. Fairy Violet Orchid was a little confused. There was no sign of a Demon King at all. Did we come to the wrong village? This should be right. Li Qingyan said uncertainly. They were all arranged by him, and the arrangements were the same. There was no mistake. Great Immortal, that Demon King is in that mountain. My child was kidnapped by that Demon King. An old woman pointed at the small mountain and gave him a hint. I'll be back soon. Li Qingyan flew away. The Demon King didn't come out to cause trouble, so he could only take the initiative to come to him. Fairy Violet Orchid also followed. From the time she killed evil demons by the sea, he knew that she was also a person who couldn't stay idle. The two entered the cave. It was gray and hazy, and they couldn't see what was inside. Li Qingyun's heart skipped a beat. Something was wrong. Fairy Violet Orchid had a strange expression. This gray aura seemed to be chaotic energy, and there was a familiar aura. Could it be boom? A violent force swept out, and the two flew out at the same time. Li Qingyun directly spat out a mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. This situation wasn't right. The Demon King, he arranged, was not so strong. Chaos divine power surged and turned into a figure. We meet again, Fairy Violet Orchid. Jiang Changkong, what are you doing here instead of patrolling? Fairy Violet Orchid frowned. Jiang Changkong? Li Qingyun's expression changed slightly, and his eyes darkened. Was this guy the one who ruined his business? Behind him stood Heavenly King Ziwei. I'm enforcing the law. For example, killing him. Jiang Changkong pointed at Li Qingyun, and a chaotic finger beam shot out. Jiang Changkong, you want to kill my friend again? Fairy Violet Orchid said angrily. Was it easy for her to make friends? If she made friends, he would kill them. Back off. Jiang Changkong kept flicking, and Fairy Violet Orchid flew backward, but she was not injured. The finger beam had already arrived in front of Li Qingyun. I'll fight you to the death. With a roar, Li Qingyun released his immortal power, and the divine sword light slashed at the finger beam. Even if Jiang Changkong had Heavenly King Ziwei behind him, in order to survive, he had to fight. Unfortunately, his fight obviously did not succeed. The finger beam annihilated the sword light and pierced through the forehead. He pressed his forehead with one hand and began to search his soul. Information appeared one after another, and a special piece of information attracted his attention. Just as he was about to read it carefully, a figure descended from the sky. You're late, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Li Qingyun's aura dissipated, and he turned into chaotic divine power and returned to his body. You Shui snorted and kicked Li Qingyun's corpse. Can't you let me deal with him myself? The heavenly court has its own rules. They are the heavenly law. I've already given you 2. Jiang Changkong said calmly, it's my duty to deal with them personally and judge them according to the heavenly rules. Only you treat the heavenly rules of the heavenly court as a golden rule. You don't know how to be flexible at all. Fairy Violet Orchid walked over, very angry. Why do you have to kill whoever we make friends with? Fairy Yushua will explain this to you. I'm going to deal with that village and this heavenly soldier. After Jiang Changkong finished speaking, he left with the heavenly soldier while studying the information in his mind. It seemed that he needed the help of these 2 fairies. Chapter 517. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Since the law of heaven exists, it must be obeyed. Jiang Changkong said coldly, right now, the power of heaven was his greatest source of income. Anyone who dared to make him disobey the law of heaven would be his enemy. If it weren't for the fact that he was too weak, he would even dare to imprison heavenly monarch Ziwei's daughter. Others didn't abide by it because they didn't know the benefits. Once the power of heaven was fully awakened, the heavenly court's immortals would feel the benefits, and they would definitely be even more obedient than him. Before his heaven power fully recovered, he needed to farm enough essence, chi, and spirit. For example, the information he just received. The people from the 3 great immortal sects also entered the southern Heavenly Legion's training ground. Of course, it was done in secret. Some of the celestial generals and soldiers had colluded with the 3 great immortal sects to get their disciples to train there. Cultivating there, 1 day was equivalent to 10 days of bitter cultivation. Even with the restrictions of the celestial record, one could still feel an obvious improvement. Jiang Changkong guessed that this was the source of the heavenly court's spiritual essence. He could feel an obvious improvement. Furthermore, they were heavenly soldiers and generals who had been training hard. They devoured most of the immortal books and formed spiritual accumulations. They did not notice it at all and continued to provide resources for the heavenly court. The disciples of the three great immortal sects didn't have any immortal records, so when they cultivated, it was their own. In fact, many deities of the three celestial sects were born from the heavenly weapon cultivation grounds. The heavenly book had already displayed a message. Protect the heavenly court's Southern Sky Legion's 10th training ground. Eliminate the vermin in the army there. Reward of 50,000 heaven's power. That was equivalent to 5 immortals. In such a situation, Jiang Changkong would certainly not let it go. However, he did not have the ability to enter the cultivation ground unless he was able to become a disciple of the 3 major celestial sects and was recommended by the sect leader of the 3 major celestial sects. Every year, the 3 great immortal sects would have to pay a lot of resources to bribe the immortals and the disciples of the immortals. It seems like you really don't know how to be flexible and stubborn, Fairy Violet Orchid said in dissatisfaction. That's because you don't understand the current heavenly court, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. We don't understand? What is a mere heavenly soldier like you know? Fairy Xylan snorted and said, most of the immortals of the heavenly court abide by the laws of heaven. Only a few are black sheep. Jiang Changkong smiled faintly. What do you think, Fairy Yushue? To be able to hang out with Fairy Zilan, this Fairy Yushue's status was definitely not low. What are you trying to say? Fairy Yushue frowned slightly. This matter made her feel very uncomfortable. She was treated like a fool by Lu Ji and played around with. The heavenly law of the heavenly court has become a decoration. It must be restored. Jiang Changkong's expression was calm as he said, your identities are extraordinary. Regardless of whether you're a disciple of an immortal or an immortal, everyone in front of you is obedient and kind-hearted. Why don't the 2 fairies follow me down to take a look at the other faces of those immortals and their disciples? What face? Jiang Changkong said indifferently, filling your own pockets, abusing your power for personal gain, betraying the heavenly courts for your own interests. Fairy Yushue said faintly, after what happened just now, she already had some understanding. You want to target Lu Ji and Yen Rui? No, I'm bringing you to see a group of vermin, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Fairy Zilan frowned and said, what if you lose? If I lose, I'll leave myself and never enter the heavenly courts, Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Fairy Yushue said no need. If you lose, you'll return to the East Sea to assist the Dragon King. Without my and Violet Orchid's consent, you can't step out of the East Sea. Fairies are really kind, leaving a way out for others. Jiang Changkong smiled faintly and said, he had sent these 2 fairies to the heavenly prison. He didn't expect that if he lost, they would only let him return to the East Sea. If it were any other immortal, even he himself, there would only be one decision, and that was to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent future troubles. Tell me, what do you want to do? Fairy Zilan urged. There's one more thing I haven't said. If I win, the 2 fairies have to voluntarily go to the heavenly prison and face the wall for 7 days. Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Deal, the 2 fairies said at the same time. Jiang Changkong suppressed the excitement in his heart and tried to calm himself down. Then I'll have to trouble the 2 fairies to take me to the Southern Sky Army's training field number 10. You want to go there to cultivate? The 2 fairies frowned. You'll know when you get there. Or are you saying that the 2 fairies don't want to participate in this competition? Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Let's go, I'll have someone arrange it. You have to abide by the heavenly law and enter legally. Don't worry, we won't violate the heavenly law for no reason. Fairy Zilan snorted coldly and rose into the air. Follow me to the heavens. Success! Jiang Changkong followed the 2 fairies back to the heavenly courts. It was easy for the daughter of Heavenly King Ziwei to go to training field number 10, and there was no need to go through the back door. There was another message in the heavenly book, and that was to have the two fairies return to the heavenly prison to face the wall for 7 days, and the reward was 100 heavens power. Returning to the heavenly courts, Jiang Changkong looked at his essence, qi, and spirit. 50,000 heavens power was equal to 500,000 essence, qi, and spirit. Training field number 10 would be the key to his soaring. In front of the southern heavenly gate, a group of heavenly soldiers hurriedly retreated to the side when they saw Jiang Changkong return. They didn't want to be thrown into the heavenly prison. Those without a background wouldn't be able to come out in a short time after being thrown into the heavenly prison, and they had to be punished. Fairy Zilan went to handle the matter, while Jiang Changkong and Fairy Yushua waited on the side. 15 minutes later, Fairy Zilan took out 3 golden tokens and handed one to him. Come, let's go to the training field. Under the guidance of the 2 fairies, the 3 quickly arrived in front of a golden door. A golden-armored heavenly soldier put away the 3 tokens and let them in. Passing through the golden door, there was another space like a whole new world. The immortal qi was so thick that it formed a mist, and the heavenly soldiers sat cross-legged on the ground, absorbing the immortal qi to cultivate. In the distance, a golden barrier isolated the heavenly soldiers. In the distance were high mountains and primitive forests, and there was demonic qi that filled the sky. The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals cultivated here, and they had to fight against the demons to ensure their combat power. Training field number 10 was basically filled with heaven immortals, and the demons were mostly heaven immortals. There were no immortals. The heavenly book vibrated, and another message appeared. Training field number 10, 10,000 heaven immortals and heavenly soldiers. Their merits offset each other. 3,591 heavenly soldiers. Great crimes, demoted to human immortals. Reward, each heavenly soldier, 100 heavens power. What are you trembling for? Fairy Zilan looked at Jiang Changkong and said disdainfully, Don't tell me you're scared by the heavenly soldiers. Jiang Changkong, no, I'm excited. This is more than 3. 5 million essence. Plus the reward of 500,000. That's 4 million. And this is just the heavenly soldiers. There are still hidden disciples of the 3 major immortal sects. Jiang Changkong felt that he was going to be rich. What do you plan to do? Fairy Yushu asked. Follow me. Jiang Changkong led them out of the protective barrier. The heavenly soldiers here would not touch them for the time being. After he dealt with the disciples of the 3 major immortal sects, he would deal with them. The disciples of the 3 major immortal sects were not so bold as to cultivate with these heavenly soldiers in the demon territory. They opened up their own cultivation rooms in the mountain range. Chapter 518. Southern Sky Army, Training Ground Number 10. Thick, demonic clouds covered everything in the mountain range. In the mountain range, exotic flowers and herbs grew everywhere. Heavenly soldiers in armor were plucking these immortal herbs. Not far away, there were many caves. These soldiers picked the herbs and entered the caves. Fairy Xylan frowned. You brought us here just to watch them pick herbs. Fairy, take a good look. Are they heavenly soldiers of the heavenly court? Jiang Changkong pointed at the soldiers picking herbs. The heavenly book trembled and revealed a name. It's really fate. Yenrui is here too. Yenrui. Fairy Xylan turned her head and didn't see him. Yu Shue frowned. These people don't have immortal records. If they aren't heavenly soldiers of the heavenly court, who are they? Disciples of the 3 great immortal sects. Some deities received benefits and let them in. Jiang Changkong said lightly, 3 great immortal sects. Yu Shue's expression was gloomy. The training ground of the heavenly court is a secret. They actually dared to let them in. I already said that the heavenly rules exist in name only. After so many years, there has been no punishment for violating the heavenly rules and seeking benefits. Jiang Chongkong flew in the air and looked at the heavenly soldiers below. The heavenly court and the immortal sex below are inextricably linked. If it wasn't for this world where strength was respected and the celestial arch could beat everything, the heavenly court would have been finished long ago. As long as the celestial arch was there and maintained absolute strength, he could suppress everything, just like how he established the great Qin immortal kingdom. As long as he was strong enough, he could instantly kill everyone. These resources were not of the celestial Thearcha's interest. In addition, they accompanied the celestial arch to conquer the heavenly court and made a lot of contributions. Therefore, he turned a blind eye to these resources that he looked down on. As long as they didn't go too far and left a portion for the celestial arch, it wouldn't matter. Jiang Chongkong used to be like this. He only took what was useful to him, and the rest could be divided however he wanted. But now it was different. Now that the heavenly rules were upheld, it involved the celestial Thearcha's interests. The celestial arch didn't care about these pieces of trash, but he couldn't just give them away like this. He couldn't let them scatter and disobey the rules like they were now. Jiang Chongkong relied on the heavenly book senses and arrived at a cave. The heaven immortal guarding it was instantly suppressed. Without alerting the people inside the cave, Jiang Chongkong and the other two hid in the void. Yan Rui and a celestial immortal were distributing resources. Yan Rui accepted the resources and said, "The three great immortal sects will take a third, and I'll take the rest." A young celestial took out a bottle of pills and said, "Thank you, Flame Young Master. This is a bottle of golden pills. Flame Young Master will definitely be able to recover to human celestial realm soon." That damned Jiang Chongkong. You still haven't thought of a way to kill him? Yan Rui gripped the bottle tightly, his expression ferocious. The young immortal said helplessly, "Young noble Yan, our three major immortal sects lost for immortals last time. The enemy is not a small heavenly soldier at all. He has Heavenly King Ziwei behind him." Yan Rui's expression was gloomy. "Then wait a few more days. Lu Ji has already made arrangements. As long as he offends that stupid woman, Heavenly King Ziwei will definitely not protect him. Fairy Xylin." "Stupid woman? Am I a stupid woman in your heart?" "Fairy Yushiwa, you've really triggered my killing intent." This bottle of golden pill was obtained from the hands of those two stupid women. Needless to say, they have a lot of treasures in their hands. If not for their extraordinary status, we would have attacked them by force. The young immortal's eyes flashed. But soon, Li Qingyan has already contacted them and gained their trust. Soon, we will be able to kill the heavenly soldier. Yan Rui nodded with a hint of joy on his face. He waved his hand and a lobster appeared. "Come, have a taste of the East Sea's martial immortal. Although he is a little weak, he is a subordinate of the East Sea Dragon King." "Thank you, Flame Young Noble." Boom! The cave shook as a purple sword aura descended and enveloped the two. "Xylin?" Yan Rui's expression changed drastically. Didn't this woman go to the lower realm to play? Why did she suddenly appear here? "It's me, the stupid woman you mentioned." Fairy Xylin said through gritted teeth. Her killing intent surged. "Do you really think that I, Xylin, don't know how to kill?" Boom! The sword aura descended, and the young heaven immortal and Yan Rui flew out at the same time. Blood splattered everywhere. Fairy Yushiwa appeared with a golden longsword. It was suffused with a bone-chilling intent. Jiang Chongkong looked at this scene expressionlessly. "I'll let you have one more chance. Next time, don't interfere with law enforcement." "It's you, Jiang Chongkong," Yan Rui said in horror. How did they get together? Jiang Chongkong didn't say anything and turned to leave the cave. The commotion just now had attracted the attention of the other immortals. One after another, heavenly soldiers wearing golden armor came through the air. "Who dares to attack Flame Young Noble?" The cold voice sounded, and the figures hurriedly rushed into the cave. These people were disciples of the three major immortal sects, heavenly soldiers and Yen Rui's trusted subordinates. Jiang Changkong opened the heavenly book, and the power of heaven fluctuated. Attacking the heavenly god of justice is a crime punishable by death. He pointed with a finger, and chaos divine power shot out. Boom! The finger aura fell, and the heaven immortals exploded into blood mist. Their essence, energy, and spirit were extracted. Double income, 120 essence, energy, and spirit. After killing all the heavenly soldiers with one finger, the heavenly book appeared. 56 heaven immortals, each with 100 days' power. The power of heaven and the essence, energy, and spirit of the heaven immortals added up to a total of 60,000. The battle in the cave was also over. Jiang Changkong put away the heaven immortal sex equipment and looked back. The two fairies came out with Yen Rui. The other heaven immortal had been killed. You didn't kill him? Jiang Changkong was slightly surprised. Keep him alive and find Lu Ji, Yushua said coldly. Killing him just like that is too easy for him. No need. The heavenly book will show all crimes. Jiang Changkong took out the heavenly book, and it showed the various crimes of Yen Rui. It will be the same when you see Lu Ji. The heavenly book has such an ability. The two fairies were shocked. They didn't know about it. My heavenly book is more unique. Jiang Changkong said, Why don't you let me kill him? I am the heavenly god of justice. Then you can have it. Yushua threw it to him. My father is a deity. Fairy Xylin, my father has made great contributions to the heavenly court. You can't kill me. Fairy, think about it. Who helped you sneak down to play? Who helped you cover in the heavenly court so that the heavenly kings didn't notice you? Your words will only make them feel ashamed. Jiang Changkong's expression was cold as he slapped Yen Rui's head. Unfortunately, he was demoted to a mortal immortal and only had 10 points of heaven power left. Even if he stayed in the game for an hour. Rumble. Suddenly, a tremor came from the distance. Beams of golden light pierced through the sky. Dong dong. War drums sounded, shaking heaven and earth. Looks like I am in trouble. Jiang Changkong's expression darkened. You can leave now. You have seen what you need to see. Go to the prison and face the wall. Fairy Xylin snorted proudly. What trouble? Do they dare to touch us? Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Do you think these heavenly soldiers know you? Fairy Xylin, it seemed that these heavenly soldiers were not qualified to know him. Chapter 519. Yen Rui, the son of an immortal, would definitely be the focus of attention in training ground number 10. This time, in order to meet his partner, there were not many heavenly soldiers guarding him. Now that he was dead, these heavenly soldiers would definitely sense it and gather their troops to avenge Yen Rui. Yen Rui was dead. If they didn't find out the truth and took revenge, Yen Exterminator would definitely not let them off. The fiendish chi in the sky scattered, and golden light shone down. The heavenly soldiers that covered the sky were like locusts. He wore a suit of golden armor and wielded a golden spear. Both were top-notch grade, 3 immortal weapons of heaven immortals. Jiang Changkong flew into the sky with the heavenly book of justice in his hand. To his surprise, Yushua and Fairy Xylin did not leave. Instead, they followed him. I am the daughter of heavenly monarch Zi Wei, Fairy Xilon. Yen Rui colluded with the 3 major immortal sects and betrayed the heavenly court. He has been executed. Fairy Xylin shouted loudly. Purple light flashed, and her voice resounded through the sky. The heavenly soldiers faltered upon hearing this. Heavenly monarch Ziwei's daughter? Heavenly King Ziwei, an immortal king of the heavenly court. They were only heavenly soldiers and had no right to see heavenly King Ziwei, nor did they have the right to know Fairy Xilon. Nonsense! Young Master Yen Rui and Fairy Xilon are good friends. If you really are Fairy Xilon, why would you kill him? A peak heaven immortal heavenly soldier said coldly, "Everyone, don't be fooled. This person must be a monster in disguise. Not only did he kill young noble Yen Rui, he even dared to impersonate Heavenly King Ziwei's daughter and kill him to avenge young noble Yen Rui. I have an immortal record. This is the Ziwei royal token." Fairy Zilan said angrily, "The one beside me is the Heavenly Court's heavenly god of justice." "Bullshit! This immortal knows more than you. Fairy Violet Orchid is playing in the lower realms, and the god of justice is enforcing the law in the lower realms." The peak stage heaven immortal's eyes narrowed and a spear light swept out. "All troops, kill the murderer and avenge young Master Flame. You must think this through. Most of you, heavenly soldiers, are innocent. Once you make a move, you will be sentenced to death." Jiang Chankong's law enforcement heavenly book trembled. "Don't be fooled by others. This really is Heavenly Monarch Zui." "Nonsense! Die!" The spear light slammed down and interrupted Jiang Chankong's words. Ding! As the long spear fell, Jiang Chankong's body glowed with a golden light. The spear light dispersed, unable to break through his defense. "I gave you one last chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it." Jiang Chankong snorted coldly, and his chaos divine energy surged out. "Kill them. Impersonating the daughter of a heavenly king is an unforgivable crime. Kill them all." Streaks of golden light surrounded them and engulfed them. "How dare they attack?" Fairy Zilan and Fairy Yu Shui shouted angrily. Jiang Chankong shattered the golden light with a single punch. "I've already told you that they don't know you at all. The information they know is that you two silly, playful women have been fooled by someone in the lower realm. Ew. Jiang Chankong, you're pissing me off." Yu Shui was so angry that she almost stabbed him with her sword. What did he mean by two stupid women who had finished talking were being played around in circles by someone in the lower realm? It's fine if they say it, but you're saying it too? Fairy Violet Orchid was also very angry. Jiang Chankong was a bastard. He did not care about feelings at all. "Follow behind me." Jiang Chankong threw down a sentence and directly rushed into the heavenly army, his chaos divine energy condensing into a chaotic sun, releasing endless chaotic light. Wherever the chaotic light passed, the heavenly soldiers' attacks collapsed, their immortal armors were torn, and their bodies collapsed. However, Jiang Chankong did not dare to be too ruthless. He still left a part of their bodies intact and did not explode into essence, chi, and spirit. After all, this was the heavenly army of the heavenly court. If they were directly turned into essence, chi, and spirit, Heavenly King Ziwei would probably explode. He could only come here because he had tricked these two silly women. He hoped that Heavenly King Ziwei would not be too angry, daring to attack him and the daughter of a heavenly king, Fairy Violet Orchid. These heavenly soldiers could already be sentenced to death. Even the heavenly book had changed. Fairy Yu Shui, on the other hand, was a little strange. The heavenly book only showed that she was punished together with Fairy Violet Orchid, but it did not show her identity or specific information. There must be an expert who covered her up. This was not strange. The myths and legends of his previous life all said that heavenly secrets were covered up. Now that heaven power had not recovered, it was not hard to cover it up. Heavenly soldiers died one after another. Jiang Chankong slaughtered the heavenly soldiers with the chaotic sun above his head. "Kill!" The peak heaven immortal heavenly general shouted angrily. His spear stabbed towards Jiang Chankong. Jiang Chankong pointed with a finger. The immortal artifact cracked. His divine energy tore through the immortal armors and destroyed their life force. "Don't kill them all," Fairy Ziwei quickly said. "These are the heavenly soldiers. They are heavenly court's combat power." Jiang Chankong had an indifferent expression. "Defying the laws of heaven and attacking you is a huge crime, unless they surrender and wait for punishment. If they continued to attack, they would all die. The 10,000 heavenly soldiers were all heaven immortals. Jiang Changkong, who was already at the peak of Heaven Immortal Middle Stage, was not afraid. He was least afraid of group battles. Monkey Sun could defeat 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals alone. I, Jiang Changkong, can also slaughter 10,000 heavenly soldiers and generals. As Jiang Changkong slaughtered, heaven power became denser and denser. His immortal occupation also started to perfect and evolve. If you surrender, you can be dealt with leniently. Fairy Zi-Lan shouted coldly. Without answering her, the heavenly soldiers and generals disregarded their own lives and charged forward. Set up the formation. A peak heaven immortal shouted angrily. The formation cannot make up for the difference. Jiang Changkong's palm landed and the formation collapsed. 100 heavenly soldiers fell down. Their life force dissipated. They were dead. He was now at the peak of Heaven Immortal Middle Stage. His battle strength was infinitely close to that of an immortal. As the heavenly soldiers died, heaven power strengthened him. His essence, chi, and spirit surged. Soon he gathered all his essence, chi, and spirit, perfected postnatal chaotic Tao body. Green light flickered in his body. Primal chaos laws vibrated. Chaotic divine power, pure strength, and defensive power were all increasing at a terrifying rate. The true peak of Heaven Immortal Middle Stage. Jiang Changkong did not wait for the transformation to complete. He continued to level up. With a loud bang, Heaven Immortal Late Stage. Terrifying divine might fluctuated. The primal chaos shone with divine light. All sorts of characteristics manifested. All the heavenly soldiers present were shocked and looked at the figure in horror. In the face of Jiang Changkong, they were like ants' suppressed characteristics, causing their battle strength to decline rapidly. Immortal, he is an immortal! A cry of alarm was heard. One by one, the heavenly soldiers cried out in horror. At this moment, Jiang Changkong was like an immortal, in their eyes like an unreachable giant, a high and mighty, unshakable immortal expert. Wherever the chaotic divine might passed, the heavenly soldiers fell from the sky like dumplings. Fairy Zi-Lan and Fairy Yushua's expressions changed at the same time. They looked at Jiang Changkong solemnly. You are a late-stage heaven immortal, but you give people the feeling of an immortal. With a slap, a large number of heaven immortals fell, turned into corpses, and smashed into the ground. Jiang Changkong opened his eyes. Chaotic divine light shot out, and suddenly there was a tingling pain in his glabella. Buzz! A burning sensation came, and the rich power of heaven crazily drilled into his glabella, tearing his skin. Drops of gray blood flowed out, and a tiny crack appeared like a human eye. He looked high and mighty, looking down at thousands of heavenly soldiers. Fairy Zi-Lan, Fairy Yushua, the two female immortals, also had an ethereal aura, making them look very noble. Buzz! Suddenly, Jiang Changkong's glabella split open, and I, the cold and emotionless I, with a supreme aura, looked down at the heavenly soldiers present as if looking at ants. Chapter 520. The Third Eye. There was not the slightest bit of emotion, only coldness and ruthlessness. A great beam of divine light flew out from the eye between the eyebrows. Wherever it passed, the heavenly soldiers were unharmed, but their cultivation levels dropped rapidly. Some of the heavenly soldiers' life auras dissipated and they turned into corpses. Judgment. According to the judgment of the heavenly book, these heavenly soldiers would receive the punishment they deserved, be it an early stage heaven immortal or a peak heaven immortal. None of them could resist the divine light. This was a judgment from the heavens. Jiang Changkong closed his eyes, leaving only the third eye on his forehead open. Streams of information appeared in his mind. Heavenly eye. To be more precise, it was the eye of heavenly punishment. Back then, Erlang deity Yangjian had 3 eyes. His third eye was extremely powerful. Even the Monkey King was injured by it. This eye was a gift from the heavens, a divine ability that could enforce the law on behalf of the heavens. Since he had the chaotic Taoist body, his heavenly eye changed accordingly. the chaotic heavenly eye. As his strength increased, the power of the heavenly eye would become stronger and stronger. He might even be able to summon chaos divine lightning that could destroy everything. Under the chaotic heavenly eye, even a deity would not dare to take it head on. According to the information in his mind, the heavenly eye would only appear when one reached the immortal realm. However, his combat strength was too strong. After stepping into the late-stage heaven immortal realm, he already had the strength to challenge ordinary early-stage immortals. The heavenly eye manifested ahead of time. Coupled with his chaotic Taoist body, it evolved into the chaotic heavenly eye. As for the heavenly eye, it mainly relied on his chaos divine power and Taoist body, not just the power of heaven alone. Even if he left the range of the power of heaven, he could still use the primal chaos heavenly eye, although its power would be slightly weaker. However, even if it was weakened a little, it would not affect him much. He had activated the chaotic golden body in the third eye. He could still fight an early-stage immortal. Rumble. A terrifying divine aura surged, and a gray divine light enveloped all the heavenly soldiers. Their cultivation levels fell and they died. As the power of heaven grew denser, so did the power of the eye of heaven. The heavenly book rattled as the celestial position was quickly perfected. Perhaps it was because of Jiang Changkong's influence. The two fairies also gained the power of heaven. His cultivation base was also improving rapidly. Even though he didn't break through to the late heavenly immortal stage, he had already reached the peak of the mid-stage. What's going on? Zilan and Yushua looked at each other, not knowing what to do. It was as if they suddenly had an epiphany. They advanced rapidly and improved very quickly. In just a quarter of an hour, his cultivation base had already reached the peak of the mid-heaven immortal stage, and he was just a step away from the late heaven immortal stage. Looking at the celestial soldiers and generals, they were all howling in pain. Those who did not make a sound had all been turned into corpses. Over 10,000 celestial immortals were reduced to human immortals. Some of them even fell to early-stage human immortals. Jiang Changkong digested the information in his mind and said indifferently, "This is the punishment they deserve. You guys have also received the benefits you deserve." Benefits? The two fairies were slightly taken aback. Benefits? That's it. Let's go. Heavenly King Polestar will explain everything to you. Jiang Changkong looked at himself. He was already at the peak of the late-stage heaven immortal realm. Jiang Changkong, late-stage heaven immortal, heaven god. 3 revolutions mysterious art. Desheng. 800-000/800-000 acquired chaotic Taoist body. 800-000/800-000 essence, energy, and spirit. 8840522 after dealing with this place. 50,000 heaven's power was also distributed, together with the 10,000 celestial soldiers and generals. Jiang Changkong had obtained more than 10 million essence, energy, and spirit. Being the heavenly god of justice was not for nothing. He had also earned a chaotic heavenly eye. Although he was not afraid of gods, he was only afraid of ordinary gods. When Yen, Destroyer God, came out, he would have to ask Heavenly King Polestar for help. The two fairies left with him. The door was wide open, and a group of celestial soldiers guarded the entrance with solemn expressions. The 3 left directly. As soon as they walked out of the passage, a figure with an extremely gloomy expression quickly entered the cultivation ground. "Hurry up and find my father," Fairy Xylan hurriedly said. Jiang Changkong smiled indifferently. After that, he would enter seclusion and directly step into the deity realm. Once he reached the deity realm, he could attack these deities. The 3 arrived at King Polestar Palace. Heavenly King Polestar was feeding the fish in the pavilion. Seeing the 3 arrive, Heavenly King Polestar's expression changed, and he said in surprise, "What did you do?" "Heaven's power." Xylan and Yushua had the aura of heaven's power. Their strength had also reached the peak of the mid-stage heaven immortal realm. It's like this. Jiang Changkong took out the heavenly book and told them what had happened. Heavenly King Polestar frowned. He sensed the rich heaven's power in Jiang Changkong's body. Your talent is too poor. You have so much heaven's power, but you still haven't become a deity. Jiang Changkong, I'm sorry to disappoint you again. Father, what is the heaven's power? Fairy Xylan hurriedly asked. Heavenly King Polestar pointed a finger and transmitted the information to her and Yushua. This matter cannot be spread. It is a secret of the heavenly court. Ancient heaven? The two fairies looked at each other. Take these resources. Don't come to see me until you become a deity. Heavenly King Polestar snorted coldly and waved his hand, throwing another pile of resources to Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong accepted the resources and turned to leave without saying another word. Father, why are you so fierce? Fairy Xylan said with some dissatisfaction. If it wasn't for Heavenly God Justice, Yushua and I would be treated as idiots. It's all my fault. How many times have I told you not to interact with the disciples of those deities? Heavenly King Polestar said angrily. Heavenly King Polestar, if you want Heavenly God Justice to become a deity, why don't you give him some golden cores and spirit cores? Yushua asked. Heavenly King Polestar shook his head. This Heavenly God Justice has poor talent and wasted his chaotic body. I gave him a lot of resources, enough for him to reach the deity realm. However, he is still a celestial immortal and has the power of heaven. If the heavens didn't choose him, I really don't want to use him. Yushua frowned. The heavens chose him because they know he can enforce the law impartially, but other deities can't. Heavenly King Polestar fell silent. Jiang Changkong went to the secret chamber again and extracted his essence, energy, and spirit. Heavenly King Polestar gave him 2 million. What a generous Heavenly King. However, how could he cultivate a minor pangu with this little bit of resources? Why was this Heavenly King so insistent on making him become a deity? Or did he only want one deity? Was he not allowed to improve after he became a deity? In that case, he would satisfy him and become a deity first. He needed a lot of resources to improve himself. Although he had the power of heaven, it was still too slow for Heavenly King Polestar. This also worked well with the immortal record. When he secretly became an immortal lord, Heavenly King Polestar wouldn't be able to see his cultivation level. Sitting cross-legged in the secret chamber, Jiang Changkong entered seclusion and reached the peak of the celestial immortal realm. An hour later, Jiang Changkong reached the peak of the celestial immortal realm. Jiang Changkong, celestial immortal, peak heavenly god, third transformation mystic art, perfection, 1/4000000 postnatal chaotic Tao body, perfection, 1/4000000 essence energy spirit, 8840520 deity realm. Let's see what Heavenly King Polestar wants me to do. Jiang Changkong snorted and entered seclusion again. He used his essence, energy, and spirit to enter the deity realm. Deities were immortals who cultivated the Tao fruit and comprehended a trace of eternal aura. In the eyes of ordinary deities, deities were unshakable heavens. As Jiang Changkong broke through, the chaotic heavenly eye also changed, becoming stronger and more profound. Chapter 5:21. In the sky, the heavenly palace hidden in the clouds shone with divine light, majestic and dignified. The immortals of the heavenly court were mostly cultivating in seclusion to comprehend the higher levels. On this day, a magical force flew out of the soaring heaven palace and surged toward the south heaven gate. Heaven aura. The ancient immortals awakened from their seclusion. Even the weakest among them was an immortal. They were the main force of the heavenly court. They had stayed in the heavenly court for countless years and had learned many secrets. They were especially sensitive to the force of the heavens. The force of the heavens intertwined not far from the south heaven gate. A unique force kept bursting out from the soaring heaven palace. In the East Sea, the boundless waters shuddered. Wisps of blue rays flew out from the East Sea and merged with the force of the heavens. A formidable aura swept across the heavenly court. The aura suppressed the entire heavenly court. The immortals felt like they were carrying a mountain on their backs, struggling to breathe. Crack! A series of strange noises could be heard coming from the invisible void. Whoosh! The chains shuddered. Golden chains appeared out of nowhere and connected the soaring heaven palace to the force of the heavens, where the south heaven gate was. The chains intertwined and formed a palace. The golden glow was withdrawn and turned pitch black. Is that? Voices filled with astonishment echoed. The pitch-black palace was emitting a cold, imperious aura. The force of the heavens shook vigorously. A statue rose from the palace. Who is that? Is that Jiang Changkong? The immortals that recognized the statue exclaimed. The heavenly palace of justice. Did the heavenly emperor build it for him? He's so favored by the heavenly emperor. How long has it been since he came to the heavenly court? Yeah, not only did he become a heavenly general as soon as he arrived, he even sent the son of a deity into the heavenly prison and the prison guards into the heavenly prison. Even the heavenly emperor doesn't care when he's in trouble. Could it be that this Jiang Changkong is the illegitimate son of the heavenly emperor? The immortals were jealous. Jiang Changkong was being treated too well. The heavenly generals were given resources by the heavenly emperor, allowing them to improve their cultivation. But what about them? They could not improve for thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. Even the heavenly soldiers of the heavenly soldiers' corps had to train hard in order to improve a little. But how long had it been since Jiang Changkong ascended? But now the human immortal from back then was already a celestial immortal, and now he even built a shrine for him. There were many immortals and even immortal lords in the heavenly court who did not have god statues. It was a dark and cold temple with a horizontal board hanging high above. It was the Temple of Justice. Buzz! A golden light flashed, and a golden divine bridge extended from the secret chamber to the heavenly god of Justice Palace. Jiang Changkong stepped on the golden bridge and walked forward with his hands behind his back. The vast heavenly voice filled the entire heavenly court and even reached the lower realms. In fact, it spread to every region of the heavenly court. Heavenly God of Justice, return! The heavenly voice resounded clearly in everyone's hearts, accompanied by the statue of Jiang Changkong. The heavenly God of Justice was enforcing the law on behalf of the heavens. Instinctively, this thought emerged in the hearts of all living beings. This was a heaven-ordained executioner. As long as one violated the laws of heaven, regardless of whether they were weak ants, high and mighty immortals, immortal lords, or even immortal kings, they would all be under his control. Step by step, he stepped on the golden bridge and entered the Temple of Justice. Inside the temple, there was a divine seat formed by the power of heaven. Heavenly God of Justice's divine seat. Jiang Changkong sat on the divine seat, and all kinds of mysterious information flowed in his mind. A divine aura emanated from his body. Immortal. After becoming an immortal, the power of heaven manifested the heavenly God of Justice's divine scripture, making him the true heavenly God of Justice. The jade tablet on his body had already shattered. Inside the temple, there was a broken seal, the divine seal of justice. Unfortunately, the power of heaven was too weak. The divine seal was incomplete, and the heavenly God of Justice's weapon and immortal armor were all gone. When his strength increased, he would be able to awaken more power of heaven and complete the divine seal. At that time, his immortal armor and immortal weapon would also appear. Sitting on the divine seat, Jiang Changkong fell into deep thought. After becoming the heavenly God of Justice, he could reach any place completely ruled by the heavenly court with a single thought. This was also the reason why the Temple of Justice appeared here. He had never become an enforcer in other places in the heavenly court, so he didn't know his name. Only the immortals of the southern heaven gate knew about him. Heavenly God of Justice has returned. All immortals must obey the laws of heaven. The voice of the heavenly Dharch echoed in every corner of the heavenly court. Yes, heavenly Dharch. The immortals responded, and the heavenly court was shaken. The appearance of the heavenly god of justice had given the heavenly Dharch a lot of benefits, and he could finally reform the heavenly court. Jiang Changkong sat on the divine seat and organized the information in his mind. He understood why Heavenly King Ziwei was so anxious to let him become an immortal. Only by becoming an immortal and activating the power of heaven to manifest the divine scripture and divine throne could the celestial Dharch pry into more secrets of heaven and improve his cultivation. He could also strengthen his control over the heavenly court and even understand every move of the heavenly court. Of course, he couldn't do it now, but the heavenly Dharch would be able to do it soon. After digesting the information and sensing the immortal position, Jiang Changkong's heart calmed down. The heavenly Dharch couldn't take away his immortal position unless he killed him. However, if the heavenly Dharch gave the order to kill him, he would suffer the backlash of the power of heaven, unless Jiang Changkong made a mistake and violated the laws of heaven. Laws of heaven. Jiang Changkong looked at the heavenly book with a smile. His information was displayed on it. Heavenly God of Justice, Jiang Changkong, has enforced the law impartially and has never made a mistake. He has made countless contributions. He nodded with satisfaction. He wouldn't say that he had asked the heavenly book to add the words, Heavenly God of Justice. He was rich. He had to enforce the law impartially and could not violate the laws of heaven, and he didn't intend to. Someone could. For example, Ao Qingyu and Little Dragon King. They had received benefits and changed it themselves. Immortals like the Heavenly Dharch and Heavenly King Ziwei would definitely believe in the heavenly book more than other immortals. Heavenly gods wouldn't lie. Thinking of this, Jiang Changkong noticed his own data. Jiang Changkong, immortal, true god, early stage 4th refinement mystic art, basic, 1/100, 000 acquired chaotic Tao body, basic, 1/100, 000 essence, chi spirit, 84252, or it had shrunk by 10 times. The immortal book in his body vibrated. Jiang Changkong's expression darkened. As expected, it was just to make him a deity and promote the awakening of the heavenly Tao. However, they underestimated the heavenly God of justice too much. As long as the heavenly God of justice was here, even an immortal king wouldn't be able to see through his cultivation level, unless an immortal king destroyed the heavenly God of justice. For Jiang Changkong, the heavenly God of justice was also an immortal artifact. The stronger he was, the more powerful the heavenly God of justice would be. He didn't know if there was a limit. He only knew that he didn't fear any immortals in the heavenly God of justice. He could even kill a peak immortal. His cultivation speed would also increase in the heavenly God of justice, which was no worse than the cultivation room. It's time to see Heavenly King Ziwei. Jiang Changkong left the heavenly God of justice. The empty heavenly God of justice only had the deity throne, the statue, and the divine seal. Zilan and Yu Shui were still in Heavenly King Ziwei's residence. You're here. Heavenly King Ziwei looked at him with a hint of surprise and satisfaction. My nurturing wasn't in vain. Thank you, Heavenly King. Jiang Changkong cupped his fists. Heavenly King, Ziwei smiled and pointed at the two fairies. I'll have to trouble you to take care of them in the future. What do you mean? Jiang Changkong raised his eyebrows. Was Heavenly King Ziwei asking him to open the back door? They'll follow you in the future and see the world. Don't worry, they won't interfere with your enforcement of the heavenly law, Heavenly King Ziwei said. Heavenly King, Ziwei said. Jiang Changkong hesitated for a moment before saying, Fine, I'll repay your kindness. What? Is there a problem? Heavenly King, Ziwei's expression darkened. Chapter 5:22. Jiang Changkong's hesitation, coupled with his words, clearly indicated that he didn't want to agree. He sounded like he was in a difficult position and was very unwilling. Heavenly King Ziwei was immediately displeased. He wasn't like this before becoming a deity. Or did he feel that his wings had hardened after becoming a deity, and he could sell favors to him? Jiang Changkong's expression calmed down. It's not difficult. I just don't want the two fairies to suffer. You're letting them follow me and share my power of heaven. Tell me, is there any difficulty? Of course there is. If it weren't for the fact that I can't beat you now, do you think I would agree? The two fairies had received some power of heaven from him at Cultivation Field number 10. After learning about this, Heavenly King Ziwei naturally didn't want to let go of this opportunity. Moreover, now that the Divine Palace of Justice was open, they all wanted a share. The two fairies' lips moved, but they didn't say anything in the end. Heavenly King Ziwei nodded with satisfaction. Go to the Divine Palace first. I have something to tell them. Jiang Changkong turned around and returned to the Divine Palace of Justice. After he left, Heavenly King Ziwei said, Okay, I know that it's hard for you to follow him. Father, that guy clearly doesn't want us to follow him. Why do we still follow him? Fairy Xylan muttered. Isn't it just a bit of power of heaven? We can still get it if we abide by the heavenly law. Heavenly King Ziwei shook his head. If you can get it by abiding by the heavenly law, I wouldn't have let you follow him. Heavenly King, how many ways are there to obtain power of heaven now? Fairy Yushu asked. Heavenly King Ziwei frowned and sighed. For now, I only know about law enforcement. I don't know anything else. Fairy Xylan asked again. Did he know from the beginning that there are benefits to being a law enforcement? Is that why he strictly abides by the heavenly law? No. Heavenly King Ziwei sighed. In the beginning, the power of heaven hasn't awakened yet, so it can't be activated. Moreover, it requires a lot of law enforcement to activate. He first reorganized the Southern Heaven Gate, then governed the East Sea, then faced the 3 celestial sects. Only then did he activate the power of heaven and condense an incomplete immortal position. So that's how it is. She doesn't want us to follow. I'm afraid. She's worried that we'll split the power of heaven. Fairy Violet Orchid said angrily. His talent is extremely poor. It's all thanks to me and the celestial arch that he was able to reach the immortal realm. He should be grateful to us. Heavenly King Ziwei said coldly, don't mind him too much. He's just a mere immortal. Splitting his heavenly power is already giving him a lot of respect. The two women remained silent and did not say anything. Not long after Jiang Changkong returned to the Heavenly Palace of Justice, a group of heavenly soldiers and generals arrived. Greetings, Heavenly God of Law Enforcement. The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals said respectfully, Yeah, you guys. Jiang Changkong opened his heaven eye. Heavenly God of Justice. Two screams were heard. The 2 heavenly armaments, cultivations, dropped to the martial immortal realm. 20 heavens power. Jiang Changkong was shocked to find that his heaven's power had also shrunk. 20 heavens power was equivalent to 20 essence, chi, and soul. Fortunately, human immortals and martial immortals could obtain heaven power. Fortunately, he still had 100 essence, chi, and soul. I will enforce the law on behalf of the heavens. I will punish anyone who makes a mistake, Jiang Changkong said lightly. The heavenly armaments fell silent. They only came to congratulate Jiang Changkong. Who would have thought that Jiang Changkong would still want to enforce the law at this time? Heavenly God of Justice is just and strict. We admire you. The heavenly armaments already had the intention to retreat. It was completely stupid to try and get close to this guy who didn't even recognize his own family. Jiang Changkong, return my son's life. A cold shout was heard. The heavenly armaments and heavenly armaments fell to the ground. A fiery figure appeared in the Heavenly Palace of Justice. The heavenly book opened and revealed the information. Yen Destroyer, mid-stage immortal, colluded with the lower realm. sold the heavenly court's resources, condoned his son, and trespassed into the heavenly palace of justice. Death penalty. Reward: 10,000 heavens power. Jiang Changkong closed the heavenly book. The moment you stepped into the heavenly palace, you have already committed the death penalty. The death penalty? Yen Destroyer burst into laughter. The heavenly armaments couldn't bear it, and they were in pain. Do you think you can sentence me for my crimes? I've followed the heavenly arch to conquer the world for thousands of years. Do you think you can sentence me for my crimes? The temperature rose and the red spear vibrated, shooting towards Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong's expression was indifferent. This is not my crime, it's the heavens. As soon as he finished speaking, his third eye suddenly opened. Chaotic heavenly eye. A gray light shone and the flames disappeared. Yen, Destroyer's body, suddenly stopped moving. Clank! The fourth rank immortal artifact fell, and the immortal armor on his body fell off. Starting from his arm, Yen Destroyer turned into ashes bit by bit and disappeared from the world. Without a sound, an immortal was gone just like that. The heavenly armaments were shocked. How could this heavenly god of justice be so terrifying? He killed an immortal with a single glance, and a mid-stage immortal at that. Jiang Changkong closed the heavenly eye and waved his hand. Leave. Do what you need to do. Yes. The heavenly armaments quickly retreated, not daring to stay any longer. Jiang Changkong looked at his essence, energy, and spirit. Mid-stage deity, 200 points, 10,000 points of heaven's power. In a few more days, he would be able to cultivate his mystic art to the limit of early-stage deity. The power of heaven is so generous. I'll just work for the heavens for now. Inside his body, his immortal position was much more complete. It felt like he had the ability to use a wave of green light. Of course, the result was the same. He was slapped to the side of the immortal book. Two brothers in the same boat. Sigh. You've become stronger. I've also become stronger. Why can't I be more careful? Not long after, a loud laugh was heard. Brother Changkong, long time no see. Brother Li Qinghe. Jiang Changkong smiled faintly. Did Li Qinghe think of him at this time? Who was the one who said not to contact me when I was in trouble? I didn't expect you to become a deity in just a few months after coming to the heavenly court. I really admire you. Li Qinghe cupped his hands. It's all thanks to Brother Li. If you didn't bring me to the heavens, I wouldn't have been recognized by the celestial arch, let alone become the heavenly god of justice. It's all thanks to Brother Li. I heard that you received help from the heavens to enforce the law on behalf of the heavens. I came to congratulate you. Li Qinghe smiled. Jiang Changkong smiled. Brother Li, let's get straight to the point. Straightforward. I do have a request this time. General Qin Tian's son, Qin Han, General Li Gui's son, and General Lu's son, Lu Ji. These generals know that your temple has just been established and you don't have enough manpower, so they want to help you. Li Qinghe smiled. Jiang Changkong didn't say anything. He opened the heavenly book and the information made him happy. Li Qinghe, Peak Sky Immortal, General of the Heavenly Court, went down many times without permission, condoned immortals, and violated the laws of heaven. Demoted to human immortal. Rewarded with 100 heavens power. Seeing that Jiang Changkong didn't say anything, Li Qinghe hurriedly said, Brother, this is a good chance to get closer to the generals. It'll be really easy for you in the heavenly court in the future. Brother Li, I have something to say. Jiang Changkong said expressionlessly. Li Qinghe's heart skipped a beat when he saw Jiang Changkong's expression. He carefully said, What do you mean? It's more suitable for you to guard the heavenly gate. General is not suitable for you. Li Qinghe. Chapter 5:23. Li Qinghe left. He had already become a human immortal. Jiang Changkong gave him face and only dropped to the peak human immortal level. If he worked hard, he could still become a sky immortal. If it was someone else, he would have dropped to the early stage human immortal level. And they even gave him people? They were clearly here to share the cake. Zilan and Yu Shui had Heavenly King Ziwei behind them and had given him a lot of resources. So he couldn't say anything. Plus, Heavenly King Ziwei had the Celestial Arch behind him. So Jiang Changkong agreed. But now, a group of immortals wanted to share the cake? Do you think you're so shameless, or do you think I, Jiang Changkong, can't afford to offend you? After becoming a deity, he was invincible in the heavenly God Justice Palace. Even if he left this place, he would still be a deity with extraordinary combat strength. Soon, Zilan and Yu Shui came. Jiang Changkong, where are we going next? Zilan asked. Jiang Changkong thought, where do you think we should go? You're the heavenly God Justice. We'll follow you, Yu Shui said. Jiang Changkong glanced at the two of them. It looked like Heavenly Monarch Ziwei had talked a lot with them. He didn't start pointing fingers at them. If they did, Jiang Changkong definitely wouldn't take them, even if they had Heavenly King Ziwei behind them. Then, let's take a look at the Heavenly Court's map. Jiang Changkong waved his hand, and his divine power manifested a map. The Heavenly Court's map was very big. Even an immortal lord would need a few days to fly without rest. The three major sects were near the East Sea. In other places, there were some super sects, monsters, and human nations. The Heavenly Court was the ruler in name, but it had been in heaven for many years. Many forces didn't pay attention to it. Then let's continue to push forward with the three major sections. Information about the three major sects appeared in Jiang Changkong's mind. The strongest deities were all late-stage deities. With his current strength, he shouldn't be afraid of late-stage deities. Of course, destroying the sects was impossible. After confirming, Jiang Changkong took them and disappeared from the Heavenly God Justice Palace. The next moment, the three appeared in the East Sea. We came out directly? Zilan and Yu Shui said in surprise. This is the East Sea? Jiang Changkong said calmly, I can reach the place completely ruled by the Heavenly Court with just a thought. Let's go to 3 Immortal City. Fairies Island immediately said, we've been to Sanxian City. It's a city built by the 3 major immortal sects. There's an early stage immortal guarding it. That place is connected to the Proud Sea Nation. There are countless celestial immortals there, and immortals often appear there. Then I'll have to trouble Fairy to lead the way. I should also change my appearance. My 3 eyes are too conspicuous. Jiang Changkong changed his appearance and brought them to Sanxian City. The 2 of them had played in the lower realm many times. Although they were always tricked by others, they still remembered the way. This should be the only advantage. An hour later, the 3 of them arrived at 3 Immortal City. So it's the 2 fairies who have descended to the mortal world. Yun Zhongchuan is sorry for not going out to welcome you. As soon as they entered the city, a young heaven immortal quickly came over to welcome them. The 2 fairies' expressions darkened immediately. They looked at Jiang Changkong and felt much better when they saw that his expression didn't change. This is your friend? Jiang Changkong asked calmly. Zilan's expression stiffened slightly. Not really. This wasn't a friend. This was a humiliation. After saying that, she looked at Jiang Changkong with a questioning gaze. Could this person be killed? Fairies, have you forgotten? I'm Yun Zhongchuan. Last time, I brought you 2 to admire flowers and subdued a demon king so that he would abandon evil and do good. Yun Zhongchuan hurriedly said. It would have been better if he didn't say it. Now that he said it, the 2 fairies' expressions darkened even more. If it wasn't for the fact that Jiang Changkong didn't say anything and was worried that he would make a mistake in enforcing the law, they would have killed Yun Zhongchuan with a sword. Fairies, noble people tend to have short memories. I don't remember. Jiang Changkong said, Since you said that we're friends and we're not familiar with 3 Immortal City, why don't you bring us around here? No problem. Please follow me. Yun Zhongchuan led them into 3 Immortal City. With Yun Zhongchuan leading the way, The people in the city automatically made way for him. They were very afraid of him, but they smiled and shouted, "Virtuous, immortal Yin." Fairy Zilan tugged at Jiang Changkong. Jiang Changkong raised his hand slightly and shrouded them with chaotic divine power. "What do you want to say? Why didn't you kill him this time?" "Kill him?" Fairy Zilan said angrily. "Didn't you kill to your heart's content before? Why didn't you do it this time?" Jiang Changkong glanced at her. "Don't be anxious. Wait a little longer. He might have an accomplice." Fairy Zilan didn't say anything. Fairy Yushua also calmed down. Soon, Yin Zhongchuan brought the three of them to the slums. This place was already filled with new poor people. "Fairies, I've taken all the residents here into the Mystic Cloud Immortal sect. However, there are too many weak people. These are from the villages outside," Yun Zhongchuan said. The two fairies' mouths twitched. He really treated them like fools. After fooling them once, he wanted to do it again. A group of poor people ran over eagerly and shouted for great immortal Yin. Jiang Changkong was silent. He felt that sooner or later he would be laughed to death by the two women beside him. Dong dong! The sound of footsteps could be heard. The three of them had the same thought. Another demon king had attacked the village. Proud Sea Nation is recruiting. Is there anyone who is willing to go to Proud Sea Nation? A middle-aged man in golden immortal armor walked over and looked at the crowd as he asked. His aura was strong. It was almost at the peak of heaven immortal. The three of them looked at each other. It was a little strange. The routine had changed. Yun Zhongchuan was slightly stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect such a thing. I'm willing to go. I don't know what the requirements are," a warrior said carefully. "So it's Great Immortal Yin. Aoin Mingi of Proud Sea Nation greets, Great Immortal Yin." When the middle-aged man saw Yun Zhongchuan, he quickly went forward and bowed. "So it's an immortal of Proud Sea Nation. You go on, I'm just here to see them," Yun Zhongchuan said with a smile. Aoin Mingi smiled faintly. "Thank you, Great Immortal Yin. This time we are recruiting warriors with only water attributes, regardless of talent." I'm of the water attribute," a warrior said excitedly. "Okay, then follow me to Proud Sea Nation," Aoin Mingi said happily. "I'm also of the water attribute. I'm willing to go." A few more warriors stood up. Soon, 4 or 5 warriors followed Aoin and left. "I'm tired. Let's go back and rest," Yu Shui said lightly. She didn't want to continue acting. "I'll arrange an inn." "The three of you, please follow me," Yun Zhongchuan said quickly. Jiang Changkong smiled and followed Yun Zhongchuan into an inn. The three of them asked for a room. They didn't need to rest. With a wave of his hand, chaos divine power protected the room. This Yun Zhongchuan probably doesn't have an accomplice. "You've miscalculated," Fairy Zilan said. Yu Shui nodded slightly. That Aoin Mingi just now shouldn't be his accomplice. "Fairies, can you learn more?" Jiang Changkong said helplessly. "What do you mean?" The two fairies frowned. Jiang Changkong said bluntly, "You're not strong enough and you're not serious in your studies. Don't you know what Aoin is?" "An ancient beast." The two fairies looked at each other and finally remembered what it was. Aoin, an ancient beast that liked to eat human brains. "Congratulations, you finally remembered. Moreover, it's an ancient beast at the immortal level." Jiang Changkong said lightly. The heavenly book in his hand opened and the information on it appeared. Chapter 5:24. Aoin Mingi, early divine immortal, ancient beast, pure bloodline, eats the brains of living beings sinful. Death penalty, reward of 10,000 heavens power. Of course, they couldn't see the reward. The specific information was that Aoin Mingi used the excuse of recruiting cultivators to join the Aohai Empire to kill living beings. Its true strength wasn't at the peak of heaven immortal, but early divine immortal. It wasn't just the humans. Many demons were also tricked, and all of them were eaten. Ancient beasts are almost extinct. Where did this Aween Mingi come from? The two fairies weren't ignorant, but the ancient beasts were basically extinct. They didn't expect it to be Aween and only treated it as an ordinary surname. Moreover, the information given by the heavenly book was pure bloodline. This was a purebred Aween, not a mixed beast with a trace of bloodline. I'm not sure about that. Jiang Chongkong put away the heavenly book and said indifferently, right now there are two ways. Kill him directly. The second way is to wait and see if there are any accomplices. That's an ancient beast. Although it's only an early divine immortal, its combat power is definitely not weaker than an intermediate divine immortal. Yu Shui frowned. You can fight an intermediate divine immortal without the support of heaven's power. Jiang Chongkong was silent. Do you believe that I can kill an intermediate divine immortal? When he was at the peak of the late heaven immortal, he wasn't afraid of ordinary divine immortals. Now that he was a divine immortal, he naturally wouldn't be afraid of an Aween. Let's go and see what Aween is up to. Jiang Chongkong waved his hand, bringing them to hide and search for Aween Mingi. He remembered the aura of Aween Mingi and quickly found it. Aween Mingi was recruiting cultivators everywhere in Sanxian City. Beside him were the disciples of the three great immortal sects. Yun Zhongchuan was also there, but obviously they just met. Thank you, great immortal Yin. This golden core is Mingi's gratitude. Aween took out a golden core and handed it over. Third grade golden core. Yun Zhongchuan accepted the golden core and smiled like a flower. Thank you, great immortal Mingi. I'll find you the water element, ants, you want soon. This time it's all thanks to you. When I recruit 100, I will reward you handsomely, Aween Mingi said. 100? That's easy. I'll find 200 for you. The disciple of the three major immortal sects said with a smile. Actually, the Eastern Sea has the most water attribute, and the quality is also high. It's a pity, Sai. What about the East Sea? Aween Mingi asked doubtfully. Could it be that there are a lot of immortals and great demons there? That's not it. It's just that there's a celestial dragon king in the East Sea. They explained the matter and said angrily, if not for the celestial court supporting him, we would have killed him. The three great immortal sects only mention the heavenly court, not heavenly King Ziwei. The heavenly court was more extensive, and any heavenly soldier could wear this skin, so not many people cared. Aween Mingi smiled and said, that generation's Dragon King is really lucky. In the future, I will personally pay a visit to the Eastern Sea. He was no fool. The three great immortal sects were overseen by immortals. They had been here for many years, so how could they not be related to the heavenly court? If even they could not handle it, it must be that the previous Dragon King had a stronger backer in the heavenly court. Aween Ming, he only wanted to recruit people and did not want to cause trouble. The three great immortal sects' disciples cursed in their hearts. This guy actually did not fall for it. After a while, a few more water attribute martial artists were sent over. This time, they were not recruited, but directly captured. Great immortal Mingi, if there's such a thing in the future, feel free to look for us. The three great immortal sects' disciples smiled and said, they obtained another golden core. Thank you, everyone. Since everyone has been recruited, I won't stay any longer. If there's a chance in the future, I'll come and disturb you again. Aween Mingi used his immortal power to trap the martial artist in his hands and cupped his hands. Great immortal Mingi, take care! The three great immortal sects' disciples said reluctantly. Aween Mingi directly flew into the air and left. The three great immortal sects' disciples looked at each other and actually turned into light and chased after him. This Aween Mingi, Aohai Nation, since when did an Aween Mingi immortal appear? Yun Zhongchuan flew in the air and sneered. The three great immortal sects' disciples said, who cares what he's called? If he wants to blame someone, then blame him. He shouldn't have taken out so many golden cores. He deserves to stay. In the dark, Jiang Changkong and the other two followed closely behind them. This group of people is really shameless. They want to snatch other people's resources when they see them, Fairy Violet Orchid said angrily. Jiang Changkong said indifferently, the immortal world has always been a world where the strong prey on the weak. What about you? Before the power of heaven recovered, I didn't see you bullying the weak. Instead, you weren't afraid of those immortals and protected the heavenly law, Fairy Jade Snow said. It seems that my image in your hearts is not bad. Jiang Changkong smiled and said, the heavenly law exists to restrain the strong. I'm not a good person. I also want resources, but I'm not used to snatching from others for no reason. If I provoke you, I don't see you snatching them for your own use, Fairy Violet Orchid said. I would have kept them in the past, but it's different now. I'm the Heavenly Court's heavenly god of justice, so I can't embezzle resources. Jiang Changkong said righteously. In front of others, he was the impartial Heavenly Court's heavenly god of justice. After that, he would let Little Dragon King and A.O. Chinyu reap the benefits. The two fairies didn't speak. Jiang Changkong felt that something was wrong. They wouldn't have any thoughts about him, right? This kind of determination won't do. The power of heaven can only be mine. It's enough to bring you guys to get some soup. Don't think about more. That Aoin seems to be deliberately luring them over. Jiang Changkong changed the topic. The two fairies guessed. This place is very close to 3 Immortal City. The 3 great immortal sects may come to support at any time. Aoin probably wants to take action far away. Jiang Changkong nodded. That's exactly what I want. We can find a place to deal with these immortal sect disciples. Aoin Mingi's speed was neither fast nor slow. Obviously, he didn't want to let the 3 great immortal sect disciples go. Early-stage immortal cultivation could completely shake them off, but Aoin didn't do so. After flying for a day, Aoin Mingi stopped at a lake. Immortal Mingi, why aren't you running? The 3 great immortal sect disciples said coldly, you really made us chase hard. Aoin Mingi's expression was cold. Because I've decided to eat you guys first. Roar. With a roar, his hands turned into sharp claws. His tongue grew like a snake, wrapping around the 3 great immortal sect disciples. The pressure of an immortal spread out. The 3 great immortal sect disciples were shocked and terrified. Immortal. You're actually an immortal. Buzz. A gray wave of divine power fluctuated. Jiang Changkong pointed out with a finger, and the finger light was like a sharp arrow. Aoin's expression changed. He instantly retracted his tongue and looked at the void in surprise. Which immortal is here? The void fluctuated. Jiang Changkong appeared, and the 2 fairies appeared beside him. So it's the 2 fairies and Great Immortal. This demon actually wants to eat us. Great Immortal, please kill him. Yun Zhongchuan said in surprise. Jiang Changkong's expression changed, and he said calmly, I'm the Heavenly Court's heavenly god of justice, Jiang Changkong. It's you. The 3 great immortal sect disciples looked horrified. Jiang Changkong, the 3 great immortal sect's enemy. Aoin Mingi slowly retreated. With a flip of his hand, he threw the martial artist wrapped in immortal power into the lake. Jiang Changkong's body flashed, and he caught Aoin's immortal power light ball. He changed it to chaos divine power and slapped the lake with a palm force. There's one more. Come out together. Chapter 5:25. In the lake, a thick demonic aura surged. Aoin Mingi's eyes were cold. Heavenly God of Justice, Jiang Changkong. With the return of the Heavenly Justice God, almost everyone knew that the power of the heavens had automatically manifested. Enforce the law on behalf of the heavens. Previously, when Jiang Changkong changed his appearance and concealed his aura, he couldn't tell. Now, the 3rd eye on his forehead was the most obvious sign. Rumble. The lake trembled as an enormous python soared into the sky. Demonic energy surged, and its divine might was terrifying. Another deity. The immortal world is really dangerous. I've just become an immortal, and I've actually met two immortals with extraordinary backgrounds. Jiang Changkong held the heavenly book in his hand, which displayed the demonic python's information. Ancient heaven-devouring python, mixed blood, early divine immortal, countless sins, death sentence. Heavenly god of justice. Is the current heavenly court worthy of being called the heavenly court? The sky-devouring python opened its mouth, and a majestic devouring power engulfed Jiang Changkong. Heavenly monarch, Ziwei's daughter, I'll take you to exchange for my 1,000,000 brothers. His head is mine. Aoyin Mingi leaped forward. Its sharp claws were suffused with cold light. It was not inferior to a 4th-grade medium immortal artifact. The almanac of justice dissipated. Jiang Changkong raised his palm, and his chaotic divine energy surged. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion resounded. Aoyin Mingi was sent flying, and its sharp claws shattered. The heaven-devouring python fell into the lake with a loud bang. Roar! The heaven-devouring python roared, and the lake water rushed into the sky. Jiang Changkong, you dog of the heavenly court, as the acting East Sea Dragon King, you should belong to the demons. Aoyin Mingi let out a long roar. Boundless immortal might erupted. The power of immortals surged. His sharp claws were like heavenly blades. Yet you are willing to become a lackey of the heavenly court. Demon race? Jiang Changkong's eyes were cold. When the East Sea was in danger, who would have thought that the Dragon King belonged to the demon race? When the Dragon King was trapped in the Ascension Pool, did any of you demons lend a helping hand? Jiang Changkong's palms fluctuated, and his body shone with green light as he punched towards the heaven-devouring python. Be careful. The two fairies behind him hurriedly spoke up. Aoyin Mingi's claws that were like heavenly blades slashed down. Rumble. Crack. The lake trembled, and the chaotic fist energy spread across the entire lake. Waves soared into the sky, and the bottom of the lake cracked. Ding! The heavenly saber fell, but it was hard to break the Tao body. The rebound force spread out, and the heavenly saber exploded. The Aoyin Mingi was sent tumbling. The disciples of the 3 celestial sects couldn't bear the divine might and retreated far away. Those who were too slow were caught up by the aftershocks and turned into ashes. The heaven-devouring python's entire body was riddled with wounds. Demonic blood splattered everywhere as it stared at Qin Wentian in fear. How can your battle prowess be so terrifying? Because behind this god is the sky, Jiang Changkong said arrogantly. Chaotic divine energy surged around him and turned into streaks of sharp light that chased after the 3 major celestial sects' disciples. A bunch of sinners. None of you can escape. These were all essence, chi, and spirit. There were also 2 immortals. This time, he was going to take a big step forward. The 2 fairies didn't make a sound, nor did they intervene. This kind of battle wasn't something they could participate in. Roar! Aoyin Mingi's eyes were blood-red and filled with savagery. A unique divine aura was emitted from his body. An ancient, desolate, and savage aura. Roar! The heaven-devouring python let out a long roar. A huge python phantom appeared on top of his head. As it swallowed and spat, heaven and earth darkened. The ancient heaven-devouring python was known to be a race that even dared to devour the sky. Of course, they couldn't devour the sky. Kill. Activating the ancient bloodline, the ancient ferocious beast's divine might reappeared. The 2 immortals and demons released their powerful divine might. Jiang Changkong's hands moved the void. Chaotic divine power surged out majestically. You guys are too weak. The divine might of an immortal, even without the support of the power of heaven, Jiang Changkong's strength was not something they could shake. The chaotic divine power turned into a palm, and the laws of chaos bloomed. Rumble. Wherever the chaotic palm force passed, immortal power collapsed and demonic aura surged. The huge heaven-devouring python phantom dissipated inch by inch. An unshakable divine might. The surface of Jiang Changkong's body shone with green light, like the eternal chaos great Tao. The sharp claws shattered, and the demonic blood was annihilated. Aoin Mingi roared wildly, but it couldn't change the outcome of his death. With a bang, his divine body exploded. Even his divine soul couldn't escape. His life was extinguished. Roar! With a low roar, the heaven-devouring python sank into the lake. Its body glowed with colorful light, resisting the chaotic divine power. There are still treasures. Jiang Changkong was slightly surprised. The ancient ferocious beast Aoin Mingi's trump card was actually inferior to this mixed-blood, heaven-devouring python. Rumble. In the distance, the escaping disciples of the three great immortal sects exploded at the same time, turning into blood mist and dissipating between heaven and earth. Let's see how many moves your treasure can block. Jiang Changkong snorted coldly and slammed down with his palm. At the same time, Jiang Changkong was also estimating his battle prowess. He wanted to know exactly how strong he was. Aoin Mingi definitely had the power of a mid-stage divine being. The heaven-devouring python could also threaten a mid-stage divine being by activating its bloodline. Just now, he only used 70% of his divine power and could crush them. If he used his full strength without activating the chaotic golden body, he could definitely kill them with one finger. The current him should be able to challenge a late-stage divine being, but he didn't know how strong a peak divine being would be. In the heavenly god of Justice Palace, although Jiang Changkong could kill a peak divine being, that was the power of the heavens. With the power of the heavens, he felt that everyone was an ant and that he was number one in the world. It was all AF * king illusion. Rumble. The chaotic divine power slammed down. An earth-shattering sound came from the lake, but the colorful light was still shining. He's not injured. Jiang Changkong was surprised. The two fairies put away Aoin Mingi's corpse and handed it to him. Keep it for yourself. I will give it to Heavenly King Ziwei. Jiang Changkong accepted the corpse and said lightly, I told you to keep it for yourself. Yu Shui frowned. The heavenly court doesn't lack these things. The heavenly god of justice won't be greedy, Jiang Changkong said seriously. Don't mention this kind of thing in the future. Yu Shui was so angry that her face turned red. She said hatefully, You're so stubborn. Can't you think for yourself? Fairy Violet Orchid also said angrily, You too. One has an extraordinary identity, and the other is the daughter of Heavenly King Ziwei. And you want me to take benefits? Can you go against the Heavenly King and the Heavenly Court? Two stupid women. Rumble. Jiang Changkong was just about to speak when the lake below suddenly exploded, and an extremely powerful suction force came. Be careful. Jiang Changkong's expression changed, and he hurriedly protected the two. In the next instant, the three of them entered the lake at the same time. Roar! With a roar, the sky-engulfing giant python actually rushed down. A huge abyss was opened by Jiang Changkong, and boundless darkness swallowed the lake and them. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying flame bloomed, and the temperature that could incinerate everything made Jiang Changkong's expression change drastically. This is Sun Divine Fire. Sun Divine Fire! There was a terrifying Sun Divine Fire hidden at the bottom of this lake. In the lower realm, he cultivated the power of the sun, and he could also split it now. Screech! A series of cries sounded, and the three of them looked up in shock. Golden crows? One golden crow after another flew in the Sun Divine Fire, bathing in the Sun Divine Fire and circling high in the sky. The sky-engulfing giant python was nowhere to be seen, and the three of them stood in the divine fire, feeling the terrifying heat. Why are there golden crows here? The two fairies hid in the chaotic power, but they still felt the scorching heat and circulated their immortal power. Jiang Changkong stepped on the Sun Divine Fire and there was no information on the heavenly book. It should be an illusion. Chapter 5:26. The chaotic heavenly eye opened, and gray divine light shone through the golden crows. They were not injured at all, nor could they fight back. They were all illusions. Jiang Changkong looked up at the sky. There was a huge crack that was as black as ink, cutting off the space outside. Where to now? Fairy Violet Orchid asked. Either we leave or we go in and find that heaven-devouring python. Jiang Changkong pondered. That Aoyin threw the cultivators into the lake. He should have given them to the heaven-devouring python. The heaven-devouring python's appetite is not that small. Then it's very likely to open this place. Blood sacrifice? Fairy Yushua analyzed. The heavenly god of justice is very powerful. The heaven-devouring python can't beat you, so it borrowed your power to open the seal. That should be the case. What do we do now? Jiang Changkong said. You are the heavenly god of justice. We'll listen to you, Fairy Violet Orchid said. Jiang Changkong said indifferently. Even if we encounter danger and are seriously injured, you'll still listen to me? You talk too much nonsense. We'll listen to you. If we die, it'll be our short lives. Fairy Violet Orchid snorted. Then let's go. Jiang Changkong led them directly into the flames. The terrifying sun divine fire burned everything in heaven and earth. Jiang Changkong's expression became a little more solemn. The deeper they went, the higher the temperature of the divine fire. His chaotic Tao body could still withstand it. However, the two fairies couldn't. The cultivators they were protecting were very likely to be roasted dry. Fortunately, the two fairies had extraordinary identities, and they still had some protective treasures. A bottle that exuded cold air flew out, and dense cold air descended, protecting the two of them. Lunar treasure bottle. Jiang Changkong said in surprise. You have a good eye. Ever since the ancient times, there have been no living beings on the various divine planets. They are not suitable for living, only for powerful cultivators. The treasures on them have also been taken away, and the heavenly court has taken a portion. Fairy Yushua explained the golden crow illusion and the sun god fire here should have been left behind long ago. Screech! There was another long cry, and sun divine fire erupted, shooting straight into the sky. Chaos divine power swept out as Jiang Changkong flipped his palm to suppress the divine fire. Then he quickly moved forward. Chaos divine power spread out, and everywhere it passed, there were flames. There was no sign of the heaven-devouring python, nor were there any other living beings. The three of them continued forward. There seemed to be no end to this place. After flying for a few hours, they still couldn't see the end. Roar! A roar filled with pain rang out. Heaven-devouring python! Down there! Jiang Changkong's ears twitched as he charged into the flames first. Wherever the raging divine fire burned, the void distorted. The multicolored light below flickered, faintly showing signs of shattering. Roar! How a strange roar resounded. This time it was not the roar of the heaven-devouring python, but something else. Below the solar divine flame was another space. Countless ancient, ferocious beasts roared. That's a Kuan Peng! Fairy Yushua raised her head and exclaimed. A huge Kuan Peng blotted out the sky. Jiang Changkong narrowed his eyes. The Kuan Peng was a species even rarer than the golden-winged great roc. Its speed was said to be even faster than the golden roc, and it was known as the fastest in the ancient times. We've been on the Kuan Peng's back all this time. Fairy Xylan also exclaimed. The solar divine flame was on the Kuan Peng's back. They jumped off the Kuan Peng's back. That's by Zai Jimeng Ying Zhao Fei Dan Fei Lian, the ancient ferocious beasts that had disappeared long ago appeared in front of the three of them. The heaven-devouring python was in the middle of these great demons. Its body glowed with multicolored light as it crawled forward with difficulty. These great demons did not attack the heaven-devouring python. They were also phantoms, but they contained terrifying divine might. The heaven-devouring python held in pain. It was the suppression of this divine might. Even the divine might of a phantom was not something an early-stage immortal could withstand. 10 great demons. Jiang Changkong counted. 10 great demons stood on both sides, revealing a passage. The heaven-devouring python shrunk its body and crawled on the passage with difficulty. The multicolored light on its body dimmed. Many of its scales fell off and its blood flowed. Jiming had a human body and a dragon head. Baizé had a lion's body, 2 horns on his head, and a goatee. Fei Dan was barefooted like a rat, and Xiai Tai was ugly like a water buffalo but had a giant horn. There were also Ing Zhao, Fei Lian, Jiuying, Shanyang, Qin Yuan, and Gui Che, the 6 ancient ferocious beasts. Behind these great demons, there were countless great demons roaring at the sky. Fortunately, these were all fake phantoms. They only had powerful divine might. These are the 10 demon marshals of the early primordial era and the late primordial era. Yu Shui explained coldly, before the primordial era, there was an era even more ancient than the ancient heavenly court. It was ruled by the demon race. These 10 great demons were the 10 great marshals of the demon race. Each of their cultivation was no weaker than an immortal emperor. Jiang Changkong. So you want to tell me that the rulers of the demon race are called Di Jun and Dong Huang Tai? As expected, Yu Shui's words confirmed his guess. The rulers of the ancient demon race, Heavenly Emperor Di Jun and Demon Sovereign Dong Huang Tai, are golden crows of the Sun Star. Jiang Changkong fell silent. I need some time alone. Are you scared out of your wits? Fairy Xylin pushed him and said, Let me tell you another secret. The demon race's heavenly emperor and demon sovereign had a sworn enemy. They only dared to stay in the sky and did not dare to come down. It's a pity that the historical materials are incomplete. There is no information about the demon race's opponent. Yu Shui shook her head. The corner of Jiang Changkong's mouth twitched. Should I tell you that the one called Wu and the one who created the world was called Pengu? Roar. A painful roar came again. The heaven-devouring python held miserably, and its scales fell off quickly. He's about to pass through. Jiang Changkong raised his eyebrows. The heaven-devouring python was about to pass through the 10 great demons. At the other end of the passage was still the sun, divine fire. He could not see what was inside. Fairy Xylin said, Let's go. Can you do it? Jiang Changkong was a little worried. You're the only one who can't. Fairy Xylin snorted proudly and looked at Yu Shui. Yu Shui, take out the treasure. A crystal-clear jade toad appeared in Yu Shui's hand. Jiang Changkong's eyes narrowed. He saw the jade toad again. The Moon Palace's treasure. The moon and sun have a great connection. With this treasure, the demon race's legacy will not make things difficult for us, Yu Shui explained. Jiang Changkong did not say anything and followed them forward. Indeed, the disappearance of the divine might did not affect them. He originally had the image of the jade toad. Unfortunately, when he became an immortal, everything merged. The jade toad and golden crow images disappeared, leaving only the chaos star. Little snake. Fairy Xylin walked over quickly and even stepped on it. Immortal, you still want to catch me? After saying that, she pulled the heaven-devouring python's tail and dragged it back a distance. The heaven-devouring python. Let go of me! You're going too far. You too, little girls. This is the demon court's treasure. Even if you are the moon god's treasure, you can't get the demon race's inheritance. The heaven-devouring python roared and kept struggling. Jiang Changkong flicked his finger and a chaotic divine power shot out. Buzz. As soon as the chaotic divine power flew out, it dissipated. The heaven-devouring python paused and smiled sinisterly. This is the demon race's territory. You can't kill me. After saying that, its huge mouth bit towards Fairy Xylin. Bang! An invisible force directly shook the heaven-devouring python and sent it tumbling. "It seems that you can't kill me either," Jiang Chongkong said indifferently.